Hey there, friends and foes. This is John Pica, the prophet of pop culture. I'm the host of the Back of the Cereal Box podcast, but right now you are watching and listening to one of the best shows on the internet. Ooh, yeah, Reels and Heels. Dig it!
Hey, welcome to another episode of Reels and Heels. Hey, Willow. I'm your host, Brian Wensloff, and as you can see, Nicole's not here right now. She'll be joining us a little bit later, but today we have creators. Oh, man, creators. We love having different people on, and today we have creators from the comic book world. We have business owners from the convention circuit world, and we have a radio host, musician. So let's introduce everybody. We have Dustin, who is a comic book writer. How you doing, Dustin?
How's it going, guys? It's a pleasure to be here.
We have Rebekah Lawson, who is a radio host, musician, minister too, right? I mean, I was kidding. Yeah. You're a jack of all trades kind of person.
Hey, everybody.
We have our other comic book writer, Garrett. How you doing?
Good. How's it going, man?
And then we got a business owner, Sarah. Hey, Sarah, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, thanks.
And then, of course, right there to what is that? That way. That way. We have Willow. So I'm looking at the chat already. Nicole says she's listening in the car. So how's everybody doing? How was your week?
Good.
Busy.
Yeah.
Interesting for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to take away anything from you guys. You guys are doing an awesome thing, but my YouTube had exploded since last week. I posted up a video kind of poking fun at Brian, you just got your COVID shot.
Yeah, I got it last night.
How do you feel, by the way? Do you feel magnetic at all?
I feel okay.
Okay.
Yeah. My arm like here is sore. Like if you guys remember in high school when you had buddies that would run up and just punch you in the arm, Yeah, that's what it kind of feels like. But other than that, I feel okay. I hate needles to begin with in general, so.
So there was something going around saying that after people have received their vaccine, that they've noticed that their injection site was magnetic.
Oh, so they become Magneto?
Apparently. So I put this to the test. I put a battery, well, not a battery. I put an actual magnet on my arm to see if it would actually stick, and lo and behold, not a thing. Apparently, it's true though.
Lies. And
I'm getting all kinds of interesting remarks on my YouTube page. So yeah, again, it's not true, folks.
Darn.
I mean, that's what everybody was hoping, that we would become some kind of mutant or superhero, right?
Yep. I want to pick my gift. Like, great. Choose from this. What shot you get gives you this. That would be amazing.
For sure.
So we have another guest up here that he had dropped out, but he's back in. Is Javier Lugo, who's a comic book artist. It's nice to have an artist here with the writers.
For sure.
Thank you for having me.
So
I'm here to be your art monkey. Yeah.
We'll start with with Dustin. You're a comic book writer, so kind of you want to introduce yourself, kind of explain, how you got into the biz?
For sure. So I was that kid that grew up on a farm, and I didn't have a lot of friends or anything when I was younger. So it was like you'd work the farm, and my grandfather would take me to the local like mom and pop shop like once a month, and they had like spinner racks in there, and I'd have like $5 to spend a month on comic books, and that at that time you could get 2 or 3 books for $5. I mean, you certainly can't get 2 or 3 books for $5 now, but you could then. And it was just, I spent a lot of time reading. And as I went through high school and stuff, it was like, I was drawing all the time. I was writing all the time. I was writing D&D campaigns and werewolf campaigns and just, reading about, mythology and theology and stuff. And I was always getting into stuff. And then I got in a spot of trouble when I was 16 years old. And I got put into a military academy for 2 years. And when I was in there, I desperately wanted to still work in the art world. That's where I wanted to be at. And so the Dave School at Universal Studios had just offered a collegiate program. And I really wanted to be part of that. But I would have been the youngest guy to get in. So what they did was they were like, send us a piece of art every week for a year, just to prove that you're interested and you're actually going to be dedicated to the program and everything else. So I did it. I got in, was supposed to get a job. We were all supposed to be placed when we got out and stuff. Well, Pixar came about, and Disney laid off everybody they had to hire Pixar in their animation team. And when that happened, I had no job placement when I got out. They got all of my money, but I had no job placement. And at 19 years old, going on 20 years old, no one wanted to hire me. I couldn't get a job. So I ended up surfing, 10 different continents, and then came back, tried to look for a job again, couldn't find a job again, and I got into security, not guarding places or anything like that, but I started building security programs for companies. I would do designs for your buildings and stuff like that, where you were going to put a door, where you were going to put a retinal scanner or stuff like that, and I would give them full-scale models. I ended up quitting my job to open a comic shop, just because all kinds of craziness happened. And it was just like, I had a 5-year-old daughter, and my wife didn't want me walking around carrying a gun on my hip when I was supposed to be on a computer all the time. So she was like, hey, look, man, you need to figure it out. So I opened a comic shop. I did that for a few years. And as my parents were getting older, I wanted to live by them. So I moved to Tennessee, and we were in Tennessee for a couple months, and my Uncle Les died. And when Les died, it was like a blow to my entire family, because we just found it. He disappeared for like 6 years, 7 years. And then he showed back up at my grandmother's house, and he needed help. He had money and whatnot, but he just needed help. PTSD was real bad and stuff, and he just needed some assistance. So my wife and I would go down there, and we'd help him out, for a few weeks, and then we'd come back for a few weeks, help him out and whatever. So when he passed, it was just like, oh my God. So I wrote this eulogy, and I'd been in the comic book industry for a while, selling books and dealing with people, having owned a store and stuff. And a couple people in the industry, their big names, were like, hey, you should write a book. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to write a book. That's not a thing. You know what I mean? And they were like, write a book. Don't waste your gift to do so. So I put the listener out to a bunch of people. And the listener is loosely based on my Uncle Les and the things that he dealt with in the military and how he was treated as a Native American soldier and all kinds of other nonsense. We're not going to talk tribes or anything like that, because I believe it's all one people. We shouldn't talk like that. But that's just me. That's personal preference. So I put the book out, and the book got really popular. And that led to another book and another book. And now I'm on my 4th book in like an 8-month time period.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
Thank you. So 4 books in 8 months. All of them are already paid off. All my teams are paid. I have 18 people that work for me. It's a full-time job. It's not a hobby.
18 people, you say?
18 people. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it's a full-time gig for me. You know what I mean? So I depend on all the Kickstarters to do and stuff, like I mentioned earlier. And it's a very surreal experience when you can like take people like Javier that can like almost look into your brain and pick out imagery. And I think it's very powerful, and you get to know people intimately because they know your insides and outs. Oh man, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Terry. I'm very proud of what our team has put out. I'm very proud of everybody involved. But it becomes this amazing thing. It evolves as you go through it. The characters find minds of their own. I think the coolest thing about the listener, if you guys care to do anything with it or see anything about it, is you're familiar, Brian, with the Indian in the Cupboard, I'm sure.
Oh yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so Lightfoot, my buddy Kyle Willis reached out to Gary Lightfoot when we were putting out the very first book, and he didn't tell me he was reaching out to him, and he sent him a copy of the script, and the guy loved it so much that he was like, "Hey, you can use my likeness on a cover if you would like to." So we ended up getting his likeness, and Kyle painted it on a newspaper that was printed the day after Pearl Harbor. And it came out to be this just beautiful, beautiful piece. And that's what launched the Kickstarter. That's what launched the book itself. It was one of the first covers that we'd done. And it's gone from there. So I'm proud to support the Native American community. I'm proud to, support the theologies behind it, our veterans, PTSD, all these things we talk about to educate people, and I think education is very important because we don't like to be educated, so I'm like, maybe if I can teach you guys small things and little nuances and you don't realize you're learning about them, like theology, Rebekah, being, oh my gosh, being into religion so deeply, so what I did was I didn't want to just show you our theologies and the things that we believed in, but I wanted to show you other theologies and what my mother's side believed in and the Irish side of us believed in, how deeply Catholic it was and stuff. So, it's wild and it's fun, and it's a much bigger world than our small segregated world. So I created a world where it all exists. So when the listener,
that is awesome, man. Congratulations on just
I appreciate it.
Telling a story that is close to the heart. A lot of people don't get that out there. Sometimes they just kind of keep it in, but you put it out there for the world to see.
Yeah.
I don't know any other way to do it, right? I talk a lot, so if I don't put it out there, and it's like stories. If we don't tell them, they get forgotten.
Exactly.
I don't want them to get forgotten.
And like I said, Terry says it's that he highly recommends the listener, and he's in Ireland. So how far of a reach does the listener go? I mean,
so the listener did better for me in other countries than it did in the United States. And that was a very humbling thing to me because the art style is very different than what you normally get in a comic book. Almost all of our pages are painted. So it's an old school art style. And I find that working in this business in America, it's almost like a highbrow style of art, if that makes any sense. You're looking for one of the best compliments was it's an educated reader's book. And I thought that was really interesting because I never called it that. I just thought it was neat. You know what I mean? That people reached out or liked that. But if you look at comic books that are popular in the UK and in Australia and Ireland, which is not part of the UK anymore, that's why I brought it up. So, there are, because we celebrate their independence right now, there's a lot going on with a lot of countries. But if you look into America, it's very different art styles. We have a very unique style of things, whereas the other parts of the world are on their own wavelength. So when I put Greed out, Greed smashed in the U.S. It's the best Kickstarter I've put out, and most of our buyers are here. Whereas the listener was Germany, Ireland, Australia, the UK. I'm in stores in London for that book. I just got picked up for a store in the U.S. for the first time here recently. And most of my stuff is, a lot of it has to do with lore, though. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about World War II. You're talking about Celtic beliefs. You're talking about Native beliefs. You're talking about things that are very prevalent with certain groups of people, and those are the things that stick out. So it's like you market yourself, not even on purpose. It's what you're talking about that vibes with different people in different places,
That's really cool. And I was looking at the art with my wife, and she really loves a lot of the covers, especially the one cover with the headdress.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. That's Kyle's cover. It was such a phenomenal thing for Gary Lightfoot to be like, you know, hey, you can use my likeness, you know, because he's huge in this community. So it was like, okay, cool. And not only that, though, that's an homage to Wolverine #1 from the miniseries where he's actually like going like this, you know, so it's very cool. And that particular piece, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, was actually painted on an actual newspaper that was printed the day after Pearl Harbor. So it's a very unique cover when it comes to covers. Kyle's an incredible artist, so we're very thankful.
That is awesome. And, you know, and this is why I do show like this, to bring guests like you on to share not only your story, but your creativity. You know, there's so many creative people out there that don't get seen or heard.
Absolutely.
So,
we joke about it being, when I started in this, and I'm sure that Garrett and Javier can attest to it. You know, and Rebekah as well. When you walk into a new place, you're like, when you go into a comic shop, right? There are books everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Or even a CD store. There's CDs everywhere. So when you walk in, you look at these things and you're like, I have to compete with these amazing people. And it's not just like competition. It's very friendly for the most part that I've seen. But you still come in and you're like, they're all so talented, right? Like, I have the imposter syndrome really bad. So like when I come in and I'm like, man, do I even get to sit at the table with these cats? You know, is it cool that I'm even like associating with them? You know, and I'm sure it's the same way in all aspects of creativity. But you walk in and you hop into this massive ocean of talent. Man, you can't look anywhere that there's not talent. You know, so you have to compare yourself to that every day and realize, look, you know, it's a wonderful place. You know, it's color and it's vibrant and it's beautiful and it's loud, man. It's so loud and it's epic, man. And I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm so grateful for everybody that's done it before me and everybody that's doing next to me. You know, it's there. And you just want to be like, hey, look, you know, I just want to swim with it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, right. And speaking of talent, Sarah, you work with talent like this to get them into conventions and stuff like that. So you kind of want to share your story and on what you do?
Sure. So I've been doing this professionally for 3 years now. I started my own business last January. And I started working as a personal assistant with Guy Gilchrist. He was Jim Henson's cartoonist. I lived in Nashville. I'm back in my hometown of Toledo now. But yeah, I started with him and went to comic conventions. And I've just kind of always been fascinated by that kind of thing and started my own. And now I have 20 clients, which I've got one artist, but I've got a bunch of voice actors and on-screen actors. I book them for comic conventions and other things.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work, but it's starting to pay off here.
For sure.
Little by little. With COVID, you know, everything being shut down, I'm sure it affected everybody, but it really didn't affect me all that much. I mean, I gained a majority of my clients during that time, so it's starting to pay off a little bit now.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying there, because besides the podcast, I do the same thing with a friend of mine, Heather Reed, over at Aces. And, you know, last year put a damper on things. You know, we had things lined up, and then all of a sudden conventions left and right got canceled. And then, you know, everything got canceled. But before COVID, what was it like, you know, going to conventions and stuff with your clients and you know, putting in that work to reach out to people?
I really didn't have anything. I mean, I had stuff lined up, but, you know, it's hard to be, I mean, it's not hard. I mean, always being the new person, you have to work just as much harder than others to get your stuff out there. And then just kind of attracting, it's been a domino effect for me because, you know, once I got one client, they all just kind of got together and was like, hey, I've got so-and-so, you know, do you want to represent them? And I'm like, okay, you know, and now I've got 20 clients. So it's a little bit, I've had to hire a couple assistants now. I've got 2 assistants that help me with all the administrative stuff. And that way I can focus more on my clients and kind of do more, I guess, PR and deal with the, what is it, the show promoters more directly than just kind of being behind the scenes and doing everything, cranking out emails and stuff.
Do you find with depending on the type of show and the size of the show, certain promoters kind of, especially promoters that have been in the business for a while, they kind of have their own way of working. Do you find it hard being, like you said, the new person to kind of get into that crowd with that promoter to say, hey, I got these clients and I think they'd be great for your show?
I have to, yeah, it depends on the promoter. It depends. It depends. I can't say too much, but yeah, it depends.
Do you have a favorite show that you love attending? Not only, as part of your job, but just as a fan?
You know what? Before I started doing that, I never went to Comic-Con. I had only been to one comic convention before I started doing this. And that was only because of a friend of mine, Jessica. She was the lead graphic artist for Walker Stalker. And I went to the show and I was like, it was really fascinating to me. And I'd always wanted to work with celebrities. So I just kind of found my way into it and now I'm in it. And I really don't have a favorite show. I'm still learning. Like I'm just kind of, I'm in the very beginning stages, like the building blocks part of it and starting to kind of feel things out. So I'm learning as I go. It's a crash course into this world, but I'm a fast learner and I'm a tough one. Not so much tough. I'm nice. I care about my clients. I generally care about my clients and they all know that. So that makes a difference too when these promoters see that I actually care about my clients and it's not just about, making money, which, it is. I mean, everybody wants to make money, but it's a business relationship. It's a everybody's in this together. It's not one-sided, and that's not how it should be. But it's a lot of hard work, but it's very rewarding. Like once it starts paying off, like once you get your name out there more and people know who you are and recognize you and your clients. And a lot of the clients that I have never been to shows before. So it's kind of a catch-22, somebody has to be willing to put them out there for them to be noticed or a lot of people go, oh, hey, I forgot about so-and-so, so I've got it's just a lot of fun no matter what. But I don't really have a favorite show. I grew up loving everything. I was really into very pop culture. I get it from my dad. He was into Muppets and all that stuff, and he could recognize, actors and actresses, and I just kind of gained that talent from him that I remember everybody. So I know.
I think the whole panel here grew up on the Muppets and Sesame Street and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Mr. Rogers and all that. But I do have to say that being in the same position as you, I think a lot of what we do, we don't get recognized enough, like, because a lot of people are like, oh, the show promoters and stuff. But without like all the agents and, our clients and stuff, shows wouldn't be exactly where they are because we work together to bring in people like, Garrett and Dustin and Javier and, of course, the bigger people like I'm friends with Sean Clark, who has a lot of the Walking Dead cast and stuff like that. Yeah. Without people like that, there's really no shows.
Right.
Building a working relationship is great. And I think we should all treat it as family. I mean, the community should be a family. And it shouldn't be, a you versus you or, you versus her or you versus him. And if we work together, then we can all put on great shows. So I do see here Jonathan is saying that you are his agent and he's thankful for us having you on. So.
Hi, Thomas. Hello. Thank you. Yeah, I just gained him recently. Y'all will know him as John Redcorn from King of the Hill.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. This is Wiley.
I love the kitty cat there.
Yeah,
I have a question.
This is Wiley.
That's okay.
Rebekah, go ahead and ask your question.
So what is your favorite part about being an agent for these people? What's your favorite part? What makes you tick? What makes it just worth it?
I'm so lucky. Not everybody can do what I do. I'm very lucky to be able to work with the people that I work with. I actually care, and they know that. So it's mostly a lot of customer service. Like I did was in a lot of customer service and did a lot of administrative work.
Uh-oh. Her internet must be on the fritz. We'll bring her back. But let's hop into Rebekah. Let's hear your journey here. What?
Oh, geez. Yeah. So Dustin's like, I don't want to write a book. I'm like, I got like 12 books inside of me, just all of my life. That would be hilarious. One day, right? No. For me, I was a child musician, and I traveled and sang with tons of groups all over the United States, actually. Oh, hi. She's
sorry.
back.
I'm so sorry. I don't know why it keeps kicking me out.
Aw.
I don't know. This is annoying. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's okay. It happens.
Life happens. My last show that I literally did on Tuesday, my computer decided to just shut down. And I'm like, crap, what do I do? And so Samuel, my husband, got his computer, and we totally made it work, but things happen.
Yeah, apparently, before. I've done StreamYard before, and this is the craziest thing. But anyways, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. StreamYard has been kind of wonky the last little while. I've heard of people's shows just dropping right in the middle of their show. So,
that's never good. That's never good. Well, for me,
knock on wood that it doesn't happen here.
Right. So for me, I was a child musician for most of my childhood, actually, and my mom and dad were in ministry, and so we traveled and did all sorts of stuff all over pretty much Florida. There you go, South Carolina, and like Georgia area. Just totally saturated the crap out of that. So I was the little girl on stage. Well, I would come out before my dad would preach, and then I would like sing and the whole Southern gospel thing, and totally just rocked it. And then I got into lots of different groups with acting and different things. And very young, I felt a call to ministry. Well, God only knew exactly where that was going to take me, because I am not your typical minister. So that's good for most people, by the way. And so it was ended up that I got my bachelor's in music in the South, and Anderson College, which is now Anderson University, in opera, and did a lot of musicals, a ton of musicals, and then I graduated and had to get a job with a music degree. And you're thinking, yeah, no, that's called McDonald's. Just say it. And so I ended up finding a place where I sold band and orchestra instruments and sheet music, and totally for the first couple years of my life had a job, thank God. Met my husband, who's from Indiana, because he's a guitar person, and he was teaching guitar. Came in, totally fell in love with him, and he moved me to Indiana. By the way, in South Carolina, people don't know where Indiana is. So, we're like, so my dad, when we got married at our wedding, was like, so she's moving out of the country. No, I'm not moving out of the country, Daddy. I'm going to Indiana. He's like, it's in Minneapolis. No, it's Indianapolis. It was really hilarious. Yeah, thank you. All of those Southern people out there that know exactly what I'm talking about. So I got out of the bubble, and it bursted my mind way open, which was great for me, actually. Ended up going to seminary up here, and totally started just opening everything that I am, which was beautiful, frankly, and needed to happen. And when me and my husband got together, I was extremely contemporary, and he was extremely classical, because he's a classical guitarist. And if we play some music, you'll see him later. But he, so what do? You do jazz. And so we totally did jazz for about I don't know, the first 3 to 5 years of our life together as a married couple. But at the same time, we were writing our own music because we both write, and we both kind of settled on Celtic music because my grandmother is from Devon, and so for the guy out there who's from Ireland, Devon is just right across. And so my grandmother is Welsh. And so, totally married my grandfather during the Second World War and moved over here with him and everything. So needless to say, that really attracted my husband to me because he liked my grandmother. I'm like, thanks, really? That's why? No, but, and so, so we ended up in Celtic music, and ended up doing jazz and Celtic music, and he's still doing the classical thing, and I'm still over here singing black gospel with other choirs and doing like solo pieces, because as a musician, to make money, you have to play. And you play a lot of different things. And if you have a variety of things that you can do, then you work. That's how you work. And so we were working, not making much money, but we were working. And hey, we were paying our bills. It was kind of amazing. I was still in grad school doing my MDiv, finished that. And when I did my ordination, it was a interdenominational ordination because I had 5 different pastors from 5 different denominations there that signed my paper. It was really an interesting situation. At this moment, I'm at the point where I am now transferring my ordination to the MCC Church, which is Metropolitan Community Churches, which is an LGBTQ poly-friendly denomination. And from there, I'll be going on with them, which is pretty amazing, frankly. But when pandemic hit, it literally hit, you ready for this? The week before St. Patrick's Day, everything shut down. We're a Celtic band. Let me talk to you about stress. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Everything just shut down. There was no gigs, dried up. I was like, crap. So we literally did our St. Patrick's Day right here where you see me. Of course, it was the whole room with our piper and me and my husband and our 1,000 instruments that we all play, literally, on live on Facebook and YouTube. And I'm like, what is happening with this world? And we lost probably $20,000 in gigs. Yeah, definitely
Man.
lost that much. And because we were festivals and you know, all these places, because we can go out and be what you want us to be. We're going to play Celtic music, of course, but you know, but we play everything from classic Celtic, which is, you know, and then just kind of like the reels and the things that everybody thinks of as Celtic music, to original Celtic that we've written ourselves, and then also modern Celtic. You know, so we throw some 500 Miles in there and, you know, some Come On Eileen and just have a blast with it. It's ridiculous fun. And we get the crowd going and it's a lot of fun. But then that shut down and I was like, well, what am I going to do with my time? Because I'm not good at staying still.
Yeah.
So
I know how you feel.
I'm just not that way.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let's do something. And I had this thing on my heart for 5 years, but not had the time to do it because, well, you know, you're performing. I'm performing all the time before pandemic, that now I have time. So there was 3 things I wanted to do. I ended up starting one of them, and I'm starting the next in July. But the one I started was the Celtic Rain radio show. And I do that on YouTube mostly, a little bit on Facebook, but they kind of censor me just because people's music and they like, you're doing wrong things. No, I have permission from everybody. And so I play, it's a 2-hour show. It's on Tuesday nights at from 9 until 11. That way you can put the kids to bed and then you can just come and listen. You can put it on as you're cleaning. It's just a really great thing. And
another show for me to promote.
There you go. I have a guest, either artist or a band, so a musician or band, each time. And it's really kind of fun because I play all genres, not just Celtic music. So all genres. My only requirements are this. Number one, it has to be from a small label or independent artist. The big label people don't need me. Okay, just put that out there. Number two, it has to be family friendly because people are still, their kids are still around. Don't be stupid. Don't be mean. Just don't be mean. And so that's kind of where we go with that. Now, obviously, there's other little tiny requirements, like if it's just a one scratch track and it's just your voice and it's not great, I'm probably not going to play it. Because you still want the integrity of the show. But I play everything from thrash metal to there is a throat singer that just sent me stuff. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that one. I don't usually play things that are more than 10 minutes long just because you lose people and you don't want to lose people. If
you were doing your show back in the day, you wouldn't be playing any like Pink Floyd or Zeppelin because you would be there forever.
Forever. Although most of the time, if you're listening to Pink Floyd, you're taking something and you want to be there forever. So that's fine.
Time is meaningless with Floyd. Yeah.
Just saying. Yeah, completely meaningless. So, but it's just kind of one of those things that you kind of go along. But if the song's great enough, good Lord, there are some amazing, what I have learned is this. I put out the word, and I'll say it right now. If you want to send me music, CelticRain777@gmail.com, send it to me. Okay? That's how I have permission as well, is if you send me your music, I have permission to play it. Just put that one out there. And so it's, because there are some amazing musicians out there. And why I started it was because we don't get played on the radio. Because to get played on the radio, it takes so much. It takes money that we don't have. and you have to put your songs into a pool. And if you're not on certain labels, then you're not really going to get played. You might get played like once, but you're not going to get played continuously. And if you listen to the radio, it's like the same song every 8 to 10 songs. And you're just like, dude, flip it up every once in a while, And so I was like, there's got to be a place where people's music can get played that just don't get played, that are amazing. And because most of the time the stuff that's not getting played is better than the stuff on the radio.
Yeah.
So much better.
We're going to have to talk to Sage to get you on our independent radio because you'd be an awesome fit for us. That would be awesome.
I would love that. That would be amazing. The next thing for me is a show I'm going to be doing called Healing Our World. And I'm starting that in July. And I'm talking to everybody around the world. I don't care who it is or where they are. I want to talk to people who are actually doing things in the world to help heal people, to help hurting people. We need to start focusing on what's good instead of focusing on all the crap that's just happening right now. And because then we can also start be like, okay, great, this is what you're doing now. How can we help? What do you need? What are the things? Because if then we can connect the people with the people that, and then somebody's watching, well, I have a place that you can use for this amount of time to help homeless people that are in transition. Or I have a group over here that helps homeless transgender people. Hey, we need to connect. Or, these kinds of things. I've got tons of food that I throw away on a regular basis because I'm a chef and I could just give it to this person. That's the kind of stuff that we need to start talking about. And so that's going to be a once a month show for 30 minutes. Okay. And so that's going to be really cool. But that's coming in July. And then of course we're Celtic Rain, the band, is performing literally tonight. So if you're in Indianapolis, you should come to the Primeval Brewery over in Noblesville, because we're playing at 7 p.m.
Awesome. You have such a fantastic story, and if you guys have ever checked out her show, it is very entertaining. She also does a thing on Facebook in the morning where it's Getting Ready with Rebekah.
I do. It's
which
really
we'll hit upon that when we come back around to you. But I want to hop over to Garrett. How you doing, brother?
Good. You?
I'm doing great. So let's talk about your creative journey. Where did it all start for Garrett Gunn?
Yeah, so before I start, I'm going to geek out a second because Sarah mentioned that it's John Redcorn and King of the Hill. That's Ken Hotate from Parks and Rec, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, let's not skip over that. Like, Parks and Rec is much better than King of the Hill. But anyway, I was like, I saw that name and I was like, why do I know that? I was like, that's so weird. And I was like, oh my God, it's Jesus.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's my. I'm done now. Yeah, I started writing comics in 2011 when I was deployed in Afghanistan. I came back from deployment.
Can I just say thank you for your service?
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
You got it, man. There's no response to that. Like, when people say that to you all the time, you're like, you're welcome. That seems weird to say. But thank you. Yeah, so I started writing comics while I was deployed. It was actually I was given a writing assignment by my behavioral health therapist that was like, hey, this might help you with some issues. And she gave me like something else to do, and I didn't listen at all. And I like did my own thing. And I had liked comics since I was a kid, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna like just write a comic story. So I did. Came back from deployment, and my wife was like, oh, you should like spend some money and like get this made into a real book. So I did, and then it got published, and then like they wanted a second one, and then I was like, oh, I didn't plan for this. And then they just kept like asking for more, and then they were like, do you have any other series that you're like working on? And I was like, yes, I do. I didn't, but I told them I did. And so then I just started thinking of like other books I wanted to write. Did it for like 3 or 4 years. I got kind of burnt out, and I was like, I got kind of over it. There was a lot of people like trying to take advantage of people, and like I had people steal thousands of dollars from me, and like that were like, I worked at Marvel. Like that's some sort of like that, as if that's some sort of credibility. Like
right.
And I was like, oh wow, I don't know any better. Sure, here's $2,000 to like draw my thing, and then they just like disappear.
Yeah.
So in 2016, I was like, you know what? I think I'm done with comics. Like I'm getting kind of like, I don't want this to like ruin my love for comic books. And I had a book that I was writing at the time called Franklin and Ghost, which was like this like bullshit side story that I was like, nothing will ever happen with this. This is so weird and wacky and crazy. And I have like what's called, I always say it's like my wife's like Stan Lee moment, like the Joan Lee moment, where she was like, if you're going to quit comics, just do this one thing that you want to do first before you're done. Like Joan Lee told Stan about Fantastic Four. And I did it, and it got very popular. It's now in development as a TV show with Billy Bob Thornton and a bunch of people. But yeah, like that was like the re-spark of, holy shit, like this is fun again, and this is exciting. I tell people all the time, I stopped trying to write the comic book that I thought people would buy and start writing the comic book that I wanted for myself. And the minute I did that, all my books started selling really well. So it was like all super weird things. You know, Franklin the Ghost was followed by Warcorns, Combat Unicorns for Hire.
Oh, Warcorns is so good.
Yeah, and Cold Dead Hands, and lots of weird, wacky comics that I assume nobody would want to read, but clearly that's not true. But yeah, so I've done like
anything with unicorns is popular nowadays. So,
so I've done like 14 books, like 4 or 5 different series. I've got like 4 more in development right now. But yeah, it's fun. That's all I do all day. And then I recently became the director of variants and exclusives for SourcePoint Press, which is a large publisher that publishes my stuff. So I'm working more on like the business side of stuff for them, which is awesome because you get to like connect with people you wouldn't normally connect with. So
that's a good publisher. Between them and Scout, they're really pushing the independent scene.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal. Yeah. But Warcorns is like the big thing right now. That's like the most popular thing I have going. And everybody wants more. Every time I make one, they're like, when's the next one? When's the next one? And I'm like, Jesus, like, give me a minute.
Yeah, I was kind of late to the party on that, but I'm definitely picking up that because, I mean, it's unicorns and the story is so out there, but it looks really great.
I mean, it's that book started as a joke for me to make fun of my buddies that I served with. And I was like, I did a one shot like in 2018 and I was like, oh, like this won't go anywhere. This is just funny. I can like make fun of all these buddies of mine from the Coast Guard, Marines, Navy, Army, Air Force. And I can make them like this idea, like the polar opposite of like toxic masculinity, right? I can make them these sparkly, beautiful, wonderful unicorns and they'll hate it and it'll be funny. And then they all loved it. And I was like, this is backfiring. I don't understand what's happening. And then they were like, oh, it's so funny when this happened to this guy. And I'm like, that's you. That the character is you. That's, you know, that happened because it happened to you. So it was just a big joke that then turned into a real thing. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And Willow, if you can go ahead and get some of those images from our guest and pull them up.
Absolutely.
But Sarah did say she had to leave because she keeps having issues.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
Sarah, where can people? It's okay. It's technology. It works and it doesn't work. So, but we enjoyed having you on. But where can people find you?
Right now, well, I still have since I've been gaining clients and stuff like that, I'm still working on my website, but I'm very visible on Facebook and Instagram at Debut Entertainment LLC. I finally got my LLC about a month and a half ago. So
congratulations.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks. So yeah, Debut Entertainment LLC on Facebook and Instagram. So
all right, Sarah. Well, I appreciate what you do because it is hard work. And you sent over your bio, and it's not about you; it's about who you know exactly to get into these shows. So,
yeah.
We would love to have you on again and kind of talk more on the business side of things because it is interesting.
Sure, I'd be happy to. But yeah, thanks, guys. It's been fun.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, same here. See you
Good luck,
soon.
Sarah.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Oh man, yes. So, Garrett, you said the whole thing started as a joke and it backfired. Wow.
Yeah.
I will bring that up right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that's you?
Fantastic.
Oh my God. Okay.
What we were talking about earlier. That is such an awesome.
Yeah,
cover.
so this is an amazing cover by John Jiang. We have the new Warcorns book coming out. It's called Birthday Bash, and it's like them investigating this birthday party, and it's like these like alien kids, and they like have to kill all these like imposter kids. It's ridiculous. It's like a fairy princess birthday party, like just filled with these sort of like body snatching aliens that are like posing as little kids that are really like psychotic aliens. And so John Jiang did a cover for State of Comics, which is a retailer out of Michigan, and that's their cover for the book, and it's just unreal. It's just ridiculous.
And this is coming to a trade paperback soon, right? Because you have enough.
So the trade actually just came out, the first trade. But this Birthday Bash is like the next one shot. Like it's its own story. It's actually in local comic shops right now. You can order it at local comic shops right now. It's ridiculous.
That's like a whole nother level of bronies that no one
it's so great. It's so great. Yeah. I love the like weird, awkward interactions that I have with bronies, like at shows too. Because like they come up or like they'll check out the book and then it's this like weird, awkward moment where I'm like, do you want the book? And they're like, these are unicorns. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, and they just like throw money on the table and like leave. And I'm like,
With the book, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, with the book, yeah. I mean, I want to take the money without the. I mean, they don't have to take the book. They can still just throw money at me. I'm fine with that. But yeah, it's awesome. What's funny is like people kind of made fun of it at the beginning, like the people at SourcePoint and stuff were like, you're gonna get like all the bronies and you're gonna get all the furries and like you're gonna get all those people. And I was like, yeah, that's gonna be weird. And now I'm like promoting in furry groups and like I'm like, no, bring your money. It's fine. Look at this super studly unicorn. Come here. Look at this.
I've been to furry conventions and it's actually pretty fun.
I think it's funny. I love it. Yeah.
Have you had any interactions with Deadpool? Because you know how much he loves unicorns.
I have actually. I at C2E2 the last C2E2 we did. I keep wanting to say last year, but like the 2 C2E2s ago, he did. This really good Deadpool cosplayer came by, and he was just like didn't talk because I think his voice probably didn't sound like Deadpool, so he like didn't want to talk. But he stopped and he like did like the Deadpool like head thing like at the book, and he just like took it and he just like held it up. And he was like, oh. Like hearted it, and then he just like took money out of his pouch and like took the book, and I was like, yes,
nice.
But then he like immediately took it and folded it and put it in his bag, and I was like, my heart.
Oh no!
And I was like, whatever, it's your book, you can do what you want.
But that was such a Deadpool thing to do, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just fold it in half and be like, I'm gonna read this later. Yeah.
Oh man, so we'll come back around and talk some more. So Javier. We've known each other for years, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm not getting enough sleep because my eyes keep getting like smaller and smaller.
Oh no!
But I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right, man. How you been, Brian?
Pretty good. So Javier, you're an artist and a fantastic artist. You've done some art for some wrestling biographies and then some other things. So you want to go ahead and explain your story here, man?
Well, not much to explain, man. I mean, just like everybody else, when you're small, you draw and you use your imagination, and eventually people outgrow that. They find, people and cars and jobs, and I discovered all those things, but I never quit drawing. So that's where I'm at. I've been drawing since as far back as I can remember, and people have been hating my artwork for as long as I can remember, but I'm obstinate. I just keep on going. I keep swearing that what I'm doing today is awesome, but then I look at it, a couple of weeks later, like, that's horrible. Oh, no. And then a couple of weeks later, it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. So I totally get the whole up and down of the creative part in that, some days like, I'm not going to draw ever again. I'm done. I'm just going to pick up drinking or some other hobby. The next day, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel so creative. Yes, I'm sober. I got to do it. So, yeah.
Oh, we lost Garrett.
Yeah,
wow,
he said that his internet went down.
Okay.
He said it was that bad. Oh no.
I'm out. But yeah,
So,
hey, go ahead, Brian.
Let me ask you this. So when you have a writer like Garrett or Dustin come to you with their words and their what they want, do you see it right away, or do you have does it take a few days for you to kind of say, oh, this is what they want, and then it comes together for you?
Well, no, my system makes a lot less sense than that, right? I always try to challenge myself by only drawing what I read, and I only read one page at a time because I want to be surprised as I'm creating this. When I reach the next page, like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that, or oh my gosh, there's the foreshadowing. So I want to be surprised by the writer. But then again, what ends up happening is I go through the entire issue, draw it out really nice, and then I start thinking, wait a minute, I can set this up better if I go back and change. So, my process doesn't make a lot of sense. Does it come quickly? Yes. In many cases, what's written in the page, bam, some image shows up from a TV show, from a movie, or some toy commercial. Something will always spark that. But, getting it from the brain out through the hand and into the page, it's its own artistry. And maybe I'll hit about 60, 70% what's in my head into the page. But whatever's there's got to be enough. And luckily enough, nobody else knows the 40% that I should be putting in that they don't see, because I'm also I don't have a lot of time to draw. So to draw a 20-page comic book, it takes a big portion of the year, to be honest with you. I can do maybe two, between everything else. So, I have to be very picky about the projects that I undertake. Don't get me wrong. Emotion is my number one thing. If I'm emotional about what you're talking to me about your story, it kind of just develops in my head, and I feel like I have to do your job. I have to do your book. But I also have to balance that out with, okay, your 60-page book won't come out in 3 years. If you're cool with that, let's go. And you know what? I don't want to wait 3 years for a comic book to come out. I got nothing to promote. So I do need the shorter stories that allows me to have a presence in the marketplace, that people could be like, oh, hey, where's your new book? That was one of the things that I honestly made a lot of fun of from other artists. Like, so where's your book? They're like, well, I got Deadpool, I got Batman. It's like, okay, that's fan art, but where's your book? And then eventually I just looked in the mirror and said, where's my book? It didn't exist. So I'm like, okay, I better shut up and actually start doing it. So I started doing actual comic book stories for people. And that was some time ago. I think I started probably around like 2004, 2005, to seriously start getting tables and start doing artwork seriously as a storyteller. And I don't have a book that's 100% mine. I don't feel very confident in my writing abilities. But then again, listen, male supercharged unicorns works. I'm sure whatever I can put out there will be something decent. So he inspired me. But yeah, right now I just finished a two-page, good Lord, a 2-issue book. I have the hardcover right here. It's called Bobby Fulton and the Fantastics.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's not my cover, but the inside is all me. I mean, I penciled it, I inked it, and I'll just open it up here so you guys can see it. I did this book. You want to know why I did this book? This first page. I love baseball. I'd never drawn it. And just doing the research on everything, how, silly stuff like, okay, a pitcher, what's the best point to draw them at? Well, after they've thrown the ball, and how about the batter? Before the swing, in the middle of the swing? And what's everybody else doing? And I used to play Little League as a kid in the late 70s, early 80s. So I'm all this equipment and stuff, it's totally up my alley. So it was really cool. I got to profess my love for baseball officially in my other passion, which is drawing. And
how about those Rays, right?
Yes, I'm all about the Rays. I mean, I moved here to Tampa, Florida, the same year as the Rays came up. It was fate. Same year. Listen, check this out. Bucks got new uniform. Tony Dungy came in. Awesome. Rays started, and I met my wife. 97 was a fantastic year for me. So yeah, that, you know what? That's my tattoo. 97. I need to do that.
Cool. When you work with artists and they tell you about how the character they created looks, how often do they allow you to have creative control of the character to design, or is it an amalgamation of both your minds working together?
Well, at this level that I'm working with, there is no time to go back and forth about, okay, so what belt pouch style should this character have? We don't have time for that. When I used to do FemForce, it was literally, they gave me a script. There was nothing pre-designed. I just put it down there, whatever I wanted. And of course, the main characters have to stay on spec, but the villain of the week, anything I wanted. The bad guy, supernatural, anything I want. And the basically the profile was just make it fun and sexy, which I think I could do. But yeah, other projects do come with pre-designed things, and I have to follow that, of course. But here's a beautiful secret that I'm going to share amongst all. It's nothing you guys don't know. Non-creative people have no idea how we come up with this stuff, and they don't want to know, and they don't need to know. That magic is ours. As long as you just feed them the final product, they don't need to see my 10 failures to the 1 success. But they also don't need to see that the success took me 2 minutes, whereas my other 8 failures took me 10 days. They don't need to see that. And that's the beautiful thing. And most creative people, we struggle, and only the cream that comes to the top, is what we show and we share and we're proud of. Some people think that that's all the time. Well, I mean, God bless those who are, those are the people who are doing this professionally, 9 to 5 and become, DC, imprints division vice presidents and stuff. But for me, I have to be passionate about what we're going to do. There has to be some kind of emotional hook in me that I want to see it done. And if so, then, you're going to get my weekends, you're going to get my late nights, you're going to get my early mornings. And that's what's going to get the projects done in a semi-timely fashion, like 3 months for a comic book.
Okay. And Dustin, is this the first time you're meeting Javier?
It is, absolutely. It's a pleasure as well.
Thank you. Likewise, Dustin. And Rebekah. And Willow, I've seen you before. I've been on the show before. And who's that? Who's Nicole? Oh, my bad. I can't read.
Brian says, "Hey, your favorite person is on the show." And I said, "Javier is on the show?"
Yeah, Nicole. Yes, I am.
Every single time he asks me. So it's like my favorite person.
I think it's interesting what Willow brought up, though. The question of Javier is very interesting because, like, when it came to any of my IPs, all my IPs, I find the first one was very difficult, to put it out. Even though I knew people in the industry, there was no way I could afford the cats that I knew personally because I'm not trying to take advantage of my friends. You know what I'm saying? And that's most industries. You meet really cool people, but you don't want to mix business with pleasure, right? You want to have your friends and have your friends as your friends, not as, employees or business relations or anything like that for the most part. That being said, I opened Kyle Bunga Comics with one of my best buddies, but that's an entirely different animal altogether. But what I'm saying is when we created The Listener, I didn't know my ass from my elbow, if that makes any sense, in the industry of creating a book. Selling books and working in that type of industry is an entirely different animal than coming in and going, hey, look, I want to create a book. All right. So when you get your script done and you think you've got it done and it's great to you and it's great to your friends and whatever else, and you pitch it to other people, whatever, you've got to find an artist that can play ball with what your script is. So you come in and you go, when I did a thing where I was like, I didn't know any better. So I walked out and I did an all call, right, to any artists that were interested. Now, there are a billion starving artists in this world. And that's a real thing, no joke whatsoever. Billion in all industries of art, So you get 150 to 200 people that are looking for a job reach out to you, and because you're paying. And you know what? That's a sad thing. It's a sad thing that I have to say that because there's a lot of people that are like, hey, can you do this for me without any incentive for you to do it? You know what I mean? Hey, look, come do a piece of art for me. It'll look good for you, whatever, and what have you. Look good for me doesn't pay the bills. You know what I mean? So,
right on.
Same thing with musicians. You can't be like, hey, come play my party and, you get this or that. You're right. Exposure, right? Who gives a shit about it?
I hate that. And actually, I'm like, dude, you have no idea the investment I've put into myself to make me the musician I am.
Right on.
And I don't need your exposure.
Exactly.
I can make my own exposure. So, because I would rather put into my art and myself and my career and expose me. That's a horrible thing to say. In the way that I want to be exposed, than to expose you with my talent. And you're right. You're absolutely right.
Well,
but it's a little different with musicians where they like to play with each other. It's just
for sure,
a playful
you make
bunch.
friends and make buddies and stuff, and you guys can do like songs together and stuff.
It's a little different,
really cool,
but totally.
Right. So, like, what happened was I had all these portfolios come to me, right? All these portfolios come. And you're like, that's cool, but I need to know that you can do this. You know what I mean? Can you send me this? I don't need your portfolio. I need to know that you can do this. And so many people come back with, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. That's fine. Put your money where your mouth is. You know what I mean? Show me that you can do this. So we had 50 people. I was like, I went and I picked out 50 of them, and I was like, send me my character. Nothing serious. You know what I mean? Just give me an idea, that you can do the style that we're asking for. And if you're that invested, we'll go to the next step. You know what I mean? Because anybody can copy and paste their Google Drive to me and show me what they've done in the past. But can you run with this? And we met Eric Viola, and it was like literally like I joked about Javier about the fact that artists can come in and pick your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like I quote, you know, it's easy to get me on this one because I say it a lot, but it's like sitting at a table in Indiana Jones and they're eating the monkey brains, right? Whereas on my team, it's like my head cloned around a table and these people are just reaching in with spoons, eating my brain, you know, on these plates. Because artists have to be there with you emotionally for projects. You know, Javier brought it out, like he was like, you know, you have to have that hook. You really have to have it because it can suck. You know what I mean? It really can. And you've got to be cool, though. If something doesn't work, you still have to pay those people for their time. You know what I mean? Hey, look, we took the time out. You may not have liked it. I'm sorry it didn't work out. Find somebody else. But you still have to respect them enough to pay for their time and pay for what they've done for you. So you want to think really hard about what you do. So like to your question, Willow, what I do when I bring an artist on is it's literally like, hey, look, let's talk about it. Are you interested in it? It's not just a job because I don't need a contractor. I need a teammate. If I wanted a contractor, I would work in, you know, a book in every 6 months or a book a year. You know what I mean? This is full time for me. I currently have 3 IPs running simultaneously right now. So it's like, hey, look.
And they all share the same universe. I think that's what you told me, right?
So the listener and Greed both share the same universe. And it's a lot of fun because the difference is between with Greed, you've got a 10-year-old boy in modern day that's living in suburban America that's trying to, you know, deal with the same things that a grown man in the 40s was dealing with. You know what I mean? But the kid has no training, no idea why he's seeing these things, and he's dealing with his monster under the bed, which was a lot of fun for us because it's literally like if you've ever watched Little Monsters, you know what I mean? It harkens back to Little Monsters quite a bit. And we have a lot of fun with that because it's still an adult book, but it's like, what if you grew up? What if the movie grew up with you? You know, not just we saw it in the 80s, the early 90s, but the movie grew up with us. So we're getting all these adult tones with it, but it's still a fun book. You know what I mean? It's still very adventurous and whatnot. But you have to have a team that will run with you. Like if I send people, like I said, I have 18 people that work for me. So if I send somebody something and it's like, I just got an editor, like a real editor for the first time, you know, on this project coming up. So it's like,
is this editor Chuck Pino?
Chuck Pino is my editor. He sure is. So it was like, I was literally having to do all this stuff myself and lead all these teams by myself, you know, and I'm lucky that they're all great people. Right. But at the same time, you're like, if I have to go and I have to jot down, like lay down every panel for you, that takes up all this time that I don't have. Like as a musician, if you're writing music, you know, it's like you want the people to be able to pick it up. You know what I mean? You want the band to be able to pick it up with you, I would think, you know? So it's like, same thing with a writer. You know, I've got to have artists that can pick up what I'm laying down, you know, because out of these 18 people, you have 6 of them that are working on 24 pages per book, you know, 24 whole pages. So if you've got to go in and check each of these 24 pages out of each project going on, it gets to the point where you have no life. And I'm very appreciative of my profession and my teams. But you have to have a life. You have to be able to appreciate your family and your children and whatnot, you know? So it's like, okay, like right now, the last week of Kickstarter is awful for me every time because I stress out, I beat myself up, and then I chase my page constantly. You know what I mean? And it's like a mother hen type of deal versus I can't complain because I'm 3 for 3 on all my Kickstarters, you know? So it's like, just sit back, relax, enjoy it. But it's like a parent with these projects. You know, you're not only do you have your life that you're dealing with, you have all these people that work for you. Oh man, that's exciting. Well, you have all these cats that work for you, right? So it's like you got to make sure that you make the money ahead of time to pay Javier. You know what I mean? Because us, like I said, it's $6,000 to $7,000 per production. That's a month. Okay, that's a month. So
a lot of people don't understand the financial investment in making a comic book. Not at all.
So it's literally like this path. If we continue on this path this year, I will have put $140,000 into comic books if we continue on the way we're moving. So what I get back though is, $2,000, $3,000 a month. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to realize that the projects have to be completed. You have to pay ahead of time because it's not fair. It's not fair to the other people that are working. They still have bills to pay. Your editor needs to be paid up front. The only guy that I'll say this, the only guy that that gets paid at the end of the book is the letterer, because everything has to be done before the letterer can come in and lay down words.
He's the last chef, yeah.
Yep, he's the last dude, and then the editor comes back and checks it again. But the editor gets paid at the beginning to start his work. So you've got the last dude on it is the letterer. So it's a very interesting concept. And I tell people to ask when they're like, hey, what does it take to get into comic books? And I'm going to be real honest. It's pockets, man. That's, you know what? You can be a talented writer. You can be a talented artist, but it's pockets. If you can't afford to pay these dudes, don't try. It's not fair. You know what I mean? You have to be ready for it. You have to understand that as a writer or as a guy that wants to do a comic book, but you're not a writer, you got to pay the writer ahead of time. Writer's not going to be cheap, guys. Your editor's not going to be cheap. You don't want to skimp on these guys because they're going to give you what you pay them. You know what I mean? And it's a really cool thing to be into, and it's a blessing to be able to do what you want for a living. And, I'm very grateful. But at the same time, you have to have an expectation of what you're walking into. Javier was just talking about how he was like, hey, look, I could only do so much at a time. I could only do so much because there's other things that have to pay those bills, And when you're starting in music, I'm sure it's the same way. You know what I mean? It's not an easy trek to walk.
It's not easy at all. And the cost is, you don't know the cost until you just get into it and realize, recording studio time is ridiculous expensive. And then they not only have to record you, but then they have to edit you, and that's another expense. And then, okay, well, how can I learn how to do half of this so that then I just take what I've recorded to you and you edit it so that maybe I can cut down my costs. It's ridiculous. And then, I have to find art for my CD. Okay, well, I can possibly make it myself, but probably not, because if you want a chalk drawing, then maybe, it's just ridiculous. So no, you have to understand, and that's why when we do our stuff, if we're saying, hey, we're going to start a new project, we'll say, hey, we're going to start a new project. This is how much we need, and you've got to be really real with how much, and then add about $2,000 on top of that.
Right, because the unknown.
Just
you know
saying.
what I mean?
There's
you have
so
no
many
idea.
unknowns.
For sure.
Yeah.
So it looks like, Rebekah, you're going to give us a little treat here, huh?
Well, I was trying to make sure that he was set up as well, because as much as I can play the guitar like this, my husband plays it like this, and I'm so much better when he's there. So I'm going to give him, ready for this. This is really hilarious, but where did it go? I'm going to give him one of the earbuds so he can actually hear you guys. Oh, my microphone is backwards. That'll always be it. See, the thing is, it's like, okay, microphones are better when they work well. Okay. So Celtic Rain is 3 people. It's me, Rebekah Lawson, Samuel Lawson, my husband, and it will connect eventually, and then our piper, who is Jeff Keston, who likes to say he's not a musician, even though he's been playing the pipes for literally 20 years. I'm like, you're never allowed to say this ever again, because you wrote a song, a piping song, so you can't say that ever again. So for Jeff, you can't say you're not a musician ever again. I get to beat you up if you do. So we're going to do a very well-known tune called Caledonia. Let's see if I can make this. There, centered. God, when life gets centered, it's a beautiful thing.
I'm going to mute everybody's mics instead.
We can't sing along? What?
I tell you what, though, you want to hilarious on my radio show, I make the guest musician or band, I make them dance. Like, I mute them, and then I put them up and make them dance with the music. It is so freaking hilarious. They're like, we have to do what? Chair dance, baby. Chair dance. It's worth it. So, it's just hilarious. But, okay, so Caledonia is one of those songs that was written by,
Doogie McLean.
Doogie McLean. Amazing. He's still alive. We actually called his situation, which is his wife. His wife manages him, and said, hey, can we use your song? And he's like, yes, please. Most musicians, I'm going to say this out loud, most musicians want their music out there, so if you call them, a lot of times they'll be like, yeah, sure, play my song. Absolutely. Record it. Just make sure I get credit. So Doogie McLean, you're amazing. Thank you so much. This is Caledonia. I don't know if you can see the changes that have come over me in these last few days. I've been afraid that I might drift away. I've been telling stories, singing songs that make me think about where I came from. That's the reason why I seem so far away today. Oh, and let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Now I've moved and kept on moving. Choose the course that I needed choosing. Lost the friends that I needed losing. Found others on the way. Now I've kissed the lads and left them crying. Stolen dreams, yes, there's no denying. Traveled hard, sometimes conscience flying. Somewhere in the wind. Oh, and let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. I'm sitting here before the fire, an empty room, a chorus choir. The flames have cooled, not any higher. They've withered, now they're gone. And I'm steady thinking my way is clear, and I hope that I will see tomorrow when the hands have shaken, the kisses flowed, then I will disappear. Oh, and let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Whoa, and let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. And if I
I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had.
All right. Fantastic. Oh, I'm sorry. For some reason, I can't unmute my co-host mic. All right.
There's other
Great
people here.
job. That was fantastic.
That was very beautiful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, as everybody dries their eyes.
Right.
I know, right? It's hilarious. I know. That song is a tearjerker every time. Every time. But yeah,
That's awesome.
There you go.
Beautiful.
So this is Samuel. Hi,
Hello.
Samuel.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Phenomenal,
Nice
right?
to drop in here.
Yeah. And bye, Samuel.
Oh, he can stay. He can stay
Oh,
if you.
So, Rebecca,
He's getting
we-
ready.
maybe-
We have a
yeah,
gig tonight. We have a gig tonight, so he's got to.
The cables, yes.
Yeah,
But
the
Rebecca,
cables.
we were talking earlier, and then you said that you were probably going to be moving to a pretty cool place called Scotland.
Yeah, so this beautiful man, he plays the guitar like you've seen, but he also is starting a renewable energy company in Scotland, which is ridiculous. Wind. They might have a little bit of wind in Scotland. So, so needless to say, he's a programmer, and that's actually how we pay for our bills most of the time. And so thank God for other sources of income sometimes, because it makes it so that I can do what I love to do. And so I adore that he has another skill that can actually make real money, because music doesn't make real money most of the time. So we're actually, in the next year and a half, we're going to be moving over to Scotland, because they're going to, and this is the most technical term I have, they're going to make him like the vice president of computer stuff. That's my technical term. I have no idea what his actual title will be. But he's starting this company with a friend of his that is from Scotland, and his sister-in-law who lives in Scotland. So it's a beautiful thing. They predict weather and how much wind will make electricity for the day that it makes it, because if they produce too much or too little, then they get penalized, and it's just all this stuff. So he's writing the programming to make the machine learning programming that will outlive us, because it will learn us out, to predict how the weather is going to be. It's the craziest, most interesting thing in the world.
I'm not exactly predicting the weather, but
Yeah, it kind of is, but still.
Energy that comes from it.
He's not predicting the weather. His program is predicting. So technically, then they will be consulting with these renewable energy people, and they're selling electric on the electrical market. It's kind of like our stock market, but bigger. Yeah. So needless to say, yeah, because I didn't know this, but because America makes a lot of their own electricity, Great Britain does not make most of their electricity. They actually import it. So he's working on helping them make their own electricity.
They make a lot of their own electricity.
Oh, okay. Well, I am so wrong, obviously.
But it's like Texas. It's like Texas. When there isn't enough in Texas, Texas has to import it. So Britain kind of does the same thing, except they're
a country.
Yeah.
Which is about as big as Texas.
So let me ask. I'm hearing an accent from your husband.
Well, okay.
Well, that's
there's
just
a
'cause I'm
story
me.
there.
But
He's from Danville, Indiana,
Right.
but he had a speech impediment when he was a child, and they said get an accent, and he did.
I did that. My great-grandfather was from Paisley, Scotland. We have other connections there too.
So we went to
that's sort of what came out
Scotland
naturally.
right before my son. Well, right before we conceived my son, and he he was doing it so thick that I couldn't understand him, and everybody else was like, "Where are you from? Because I think you're from here." And I'm like, "Please don't. You have no idea what it's like to live with this man. Stop it." Stop. So,
Yeah, I've heard that one before.
There
understand you.
There was one person that guessed Paisley, so my great grandfather would have been proud.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So I love you.
I love you.
Mwah. So he's gonna go do chords and stuff, and I'm gonna turn this off so I can transfer around and not look like a crazy idiot showing my butt to everybody.
But that's really cool. I predict some really good things for you guys music wise after you guys do the move to Scotland.
Right? I think that'll be interesting because I was like, but what about our piper? He's not coming. He's like, we're going to Scotland. There's 1,000 pipers. I'm like, you're right.
Probably half of them are called Piper. Yeah.
I'm right. I'm like, so I don't know. Whatever. So yay. So that's us. Obviously, we have a lot of other songs, and yeah, we performed. And because of that, I wanted to make the Celtic Rain radio show because that was good music, and it doesn't get played.
Yeah.
Right on.
Because we don't have the label or the money. And so, dude, it's time. It's time for good music to be played.
I think
Do you guys have I
Yeah.
was gonna say, do you guys have an EP out?
Oh, yeah, we have tons of stuff. We have like 7 different CDs out. It's ridiculous.
Awesome.
So if you go to youtube.com/C for channel /Celtic Rain, like rain out of the sky, you'll find our stuff. If you go to reverb.com /Celtic Rain, you'll find everything you ever wanted. And you'll be able to download all the music, which is awesome. So Reverb Nation for musicians is really great, and there it is, right down.
I haven't been on my Reverb Nation site in many years. I need to go back.
So people don't know about it. So we'll put our stuff out. We put everything out, and we're like, here's where we're playing, and then we're like #1 in Indiana, and I'm like, yeah, baby, and like #1 in half the nation because nobody knows about Reverb Nation, but still. We're still #1 on.
I almost forgot about that site, and I'm actually glad that it's still around.
It is, yeah, it's great. It's doing really well. It helps us get gigs, actually, which is pretty amazing.
It's interesting because Reverb Nation was like a partner of MySpace. So back when MySpace was up, when you would do like your top like music, on your page and stuff, it would be connected with Reverb Nation.
That's interesting because I had a MySpace page.
Oh,
I still have one out there somewhere.
It's probably
We all
still
did.
there. Exactly. I think it's still there. I don't even know where it is, but it's there.
When I first started doing the broadcasting thing and going to school, my main goal was to promote indie bands, and I got in. I started doing the interviewing of local indie bands and going to their concerts and recording them, and it was fun. It was great. Like Reverb Nation was a great way to interact with these bands.
I want to say thank you to Trish. Thank you so much, Trish. Thank you. That you guys are the reason we do. Well, that's not true. We do music because it's in our heart. But you are the reason we keep doing music. So thank you so very much. If you go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/C /Celtic Rain, that's actually every Tuesday night at 7:00. Come hear great music like that and so much more.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
I
Oh,
really
not 7,
just said that to her
9 p.m., not 7 p.m. Sorry, my fault.
She
What is wrong?
messaged me this morning and was talking about how awesome the book was as well. And I'm a huge fan of the Bingstons. They're great people. Her and Mike both really, really cool cats. And they do a lot for the indie industry as a whole. So, that's awesome. Glad to see you
Amazing.
hanging out.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I have
They're great.
a few fun questions I want to ask everyone. And Willow, why I'm asking, if you want to look up some of the listener stuff and like pull it up so we can show some images. We'll start with you, Dustin. So since you're a geek like all of us here, what universe would you want to be in and why?
Oh my gosh. So is any universe open for this?
Any, I mean, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, you name it. Super Mario World, whatever.
So that's probably one of my favorite covers ever.
Oh yeah.
But
sorry.
yeah. Oh my god, one of my favorites. But there's oh my gosh. So I'm kind of odd. Okay, so you've got Marvel, DC, Image. All those things are really, really cool, right? They're really, really cool. All those different industries, but so Square put out a game a while back, and Disney got in on it, and it was called Kingdom Hearts. If there was ever a universe that I could be in, I think it would be the Kingdom Heart universe. I think that the concepts are really cool because you're taking you mixed Final Fantasy with Disney. I mean, if there was anything like artistically as pretty as that, that would definitely be in it. What's going on, Mike? I was just talking about you. So it's like, because artistically we're drawn to things that are beautiful, and that's no reflection on anything that's not, but we are our minds, same thing with music. We're drawn to things, and certain sounds, certain colors, certain things are very universal, like my dad said to me when I was a kid, that either the Garden of Eden or God's creation of woman are the most beautiful things in this world. You know what I mean? And that stuck with me throughout my whole life. So when my daughter was born, I named her Eden because I thought that would be the prettiest thing in the world. I couldn't imagine better than that. So what I'm saying is Disney created this world with Sony and Square Enix that was just so beautiful, like artistically speaking, even in soundtracks. You can look up the soundtrack for Kingdom Hearts right now, and it's one of the most, oh my gosh, Hikaru Utada is her name, if I'm not mistaken. I probably butchered that terrible. But Simple and Clean is one of the most well-known songs that's ever come out of an Asian country. You know what I mean? And it's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, that's where it would be. And thank you for posting that image. That's Adams Field's cover for When Winds Weep. It's actually got the award that, Projects We Love from that one. That was very, very cool. But yeah, that's where it would be at. Because who doesn't want to hang out with Winnie the Pooh, you know what I mean, or Eeyore or anybody else? At the same time, you can walk down the street and hang out with like Cloud Strife. You know what I mean? There's really, really cool world to be in. And if you guys haven't seen it, check some stuff out. You'll find some really beautiful sights and sounds.
So I'm going to ask you, Rebekah, if you were in a universe, which one would you choose?
No, hands down, Terry Pratchett. I am a Terry Pratchett witch. That is what I am, to the core of what I am. I am Tiffany Aching, period. The sky is my hat, and so no, totally Terry Pratchett, because it's just the most amazingly fun universe you could ever be in. I'm just saying, right? I mean, come on.
I'm with you. I read Good Omens.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Terry Pratchett. Just I mourned his death, and at the same time, I read his books constantly and just imagine myself right there. When I was in seminary and was totally in the thick of things, I'm like, get me out of this world for a minute because it's just too much. And we would read Terry Pratchett, and I'd be like, yes. And literally, I'm like, this is who I am. This is helping me with ministry. This is helping me figure out how to help people. Like, literally, I am totally, you just need a little bit of, a little bit of magic here and there. A little bit of headology to, like, make people realize that they need to deal with themselves and help other people. And if it got a little trickery in there a little bit, it's because you need it. So stop it.
That's right.
Help your neighbor. Don't be an idiot. It's like I totally could be one of the witches in Terry Pratchett. Absolutely. That's me. Absolutely.
You would be doing some spells and singing with that beautiful voice of yours.
Yeah, right? Or either that, or I would have to be a daughter of Cacophna and and just be able to like blow things up with my voice, which is, if people don't understand what that is, I get it, but it's a Vampire Masquerade situation. Sorry.
I wrote campaigns for them for years.
There you go. Absolutely. Or I'd be with a doctor, because I'd be flying all over the world in time. Somewhere.
Nice.
I have too many. My brain's too.
No,
Just saying.
that
Love
your
that.
ideas
She was like, or this one, or this one, or this one, because I'm like,
I realize I pop off the wall. I'm just one of those people that
you asked for one, but I'm like, I can't pick one, so there's got to be
I
like
can't.
12.
I'm so sorry.
I envision a Black Canary cosplay in your future.
Nice. Yes, absolutely.
So what about you, Javier? What would you want to be in?
I'd have to say Star Wars. It's the only place I can have a reasonable expectation of living being a regular Joe. Because everywhere else, I will be the Wilhelm scream that you hear when everybody dies. That's me. So in Lord of the Rings, right? And in other universe like Marvel, right? And DC, I would have been in Metropolis with all the buildings falling off. No. In Star Wars, at least I got a fair shot at being a rebel or an Imperial pilot or being one of the gangsters or something like that, you know.
Or hey, you could be like the new Han Solo, you know, you can be a good smuggler.
No, I'm the guy making the repairs behind the scenes and seeing them go, and I run across the open field while, you know, who was it, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn are fighting Darth Maul. That's me. That's the guy. And then I get shot and fall off frame.
So if you were in Star Trek, are you saying you'd be a red shirt?
Nah, I wouldn't even. No, I'd be like the botanist that has like the suckiest job, like waste management and recycling. And I go to the planet, and
you would be lower decks then.
Thank
like
you.
the new
There you
animated
go.
series.
Oh god.
There you go. Yeah, or a dog. Dog's life are good. So.
But was it not Ren? Ren's friend, wasn't he? He literally did waste management, right?
Yeah, that's why I stole it from him. Yeah, of course.
Oh, look at that beautiful stuff there.
Sorry, guys.
Some pretty stuff there.
Your art is just fantastic. It's hard to pick one thing that I like the most out of it, because I'm such a art snob when it comes to picking out comic book art, and this is just beautiful.
Yeah. So Javier, your art was in a book that is very meaningful. You're very proud to be Puerto Rican. You want to talk about that book that raised funds for Puerto Rico?
Sure, I'll drop a couple minutes of it. Sure, it's called a reconstruction. As everybody knows, Puerto Rico was hit by 2 hurricanes in the same year, Hurricane Maria, and one previous to that one, and it really devastated the island. And as an expatriate, right, living in the States with family there, including my parents and uncles and cousins, I felt very powerless about doing anything because I didn't know who to trust with my money. I didn't know who to trust with my food or water that I want to send over. And this gentleman out of New York, Eduardo Miranda, put a call out for Puerto Rican artists. I don't know why. And I reached out and said, I'll donate some time. He says, well, he made it very clear. Listen, there's nothing in this for you, but we're doing a book, and any money that is generated from this is going to be sent to the island. I said, okay, I can get behind that. Even if it's a crappy job and, it only makes $1,000, at least it's something. And I don't mind donating my time for 6-8 pages, which is fine. But he got me together with this writer out of Chicago. Oh God, I need to know her name. I got her face in my brain, but I can't remember her name. And it was a beautiful tale. And I was able to artistically create a counterpiece to her words, which was actually a speech she gave. And it ended up being called Reconstruction, and it was a collaboration between a Puerto Rican superhero that Edgardo had created called La Borinqueña, together with DC heroes. If I had known that, I would have tried to get into draw Batman, Superman, or one of these guys. But I'm proud to have been a contributing artist to that, and so far, I think the latest numbers I've heard was over $260,000 have been sent to the island, mostly as assistance for the school system, as grants for kids in the arts and the sciences, which, the schools there got a terrible, terrible hit because people have to work for a living. And if everything's down, they just move. They moved to Kissimmee, they moved to New York, they moved to Chicago. It was a big, exodus, so to speak. And schools had to shut down because they were too damaged or destroyed, or they just didn't have enough students to be worth keeping open. So that work continues. And of course, I'm available should I need anything for further helping the country. It's one of the few things I can do. I cannot serve my country in the traditional ways. But when I get some money, I go down there, I spend it gladly, going to the beaches, eating the food, seeing the people, and listening to some great music. And and it's not over. It's not over. Regrettably, the part of the island that I grew up in is suffering through frequent earthquakes. And they're between the 3.3s and the 5.7s, which are the ones that wake you up in the middle of the night, make you run out of the house naked. And then you realize you're in the tropics and it's 90 degrees outside. Yay. And then you start, Facebooking people about it. Yeah. Did you feel that one? Oh my gosh. Yeah. I thought my wife was beating me up. No. It was another earthquake at 3 o'clock in the morning. So the 2 times I've been down there since, 2 times I've been woken up in the middle of the night by earthquakes, which in Florida we don't have. But it's a small price to pay to be home, and to see the sights and smell the things, and nostalgia is a big factor in there, but also a sadness as well because so many people have left. I went there in March, and there was a lot of tourists, honestly. I didn't see a lot of kids out. Well, everybody's taking, going to school at home. I didn't see a lot of young people out. Geez, when I was 19, 20, 21, you couldn't keep me inside the house. It was always out. We're playing dominoes, talking, jiving, dancing, driving, beach, or, shenanigans. You know how it is. And I didn't see that this time. And maybe it's because I'm an older man. I'm just not hanging out in those places. But, it was very sobering to see that. And, but back to the book. The book is a great success, and I can honestly say that my art, is in the same book as DC characters. Now I didn't draw them directly, and it's not a DC publication, but I was honored to be asked, and I'm honored to be here today too. Thanks for having me, Brian, Nicole.
It's a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to have all of you and hear your guys' stories. It's you guys are welcome to hang out on at Pillow Talk anytime.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Willow. All right. Well, guys, I have a banquet I got to get ready for. I can't go like this. For my daughter, she's a clarinetist at her high school band, and they're gonna do their thing. They suffered quite a bit this year, not being able to play live.
You can
and
wear
such,
it underneath your suit so that whenever they need help.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Javier, I appreciate that, and that you came on. I always love having you just get your stuff out there, whether it's on my show or somebody's show or at a convention, because your art is really good and it needs to be seen. So where can people find you on social media?
Just look for J Lugo Art. My daughter and I, we got together and we kind of used the same code word everywhere, on Twitter, on Facebook, and there's my store. And I'm at your service. Sketch covers, original art, sequential art, covers. I'm literally drawing my third album cover for this group called Lamb of God, something like that. Funny enough, out of Ireland. And I'm actually designing their second album with Martin Dunn. So
that's awesome.
Small world.
Lamb of God, that's amazing. Lamb of God's been around forever, and they're
no. You know what? It can't be Lamb of God because I probably tattooed myself with her name on me. No, it's something else. It's something else. But lamb chop, lamb pain, something
There's
like
a lamb
that.
in there somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I just drink the beer, guys.
give the wife and daughter a hug, and we'll be hearing from you. And I'll definitely put you in touch with Dustin, because I think you guys could maybe work together in the future.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, man, I'm always
willing.
I'm always looking to help people out, and to put them on cool covers and show people, anything. You know what I mean? If you're doing a cover or you want to do a cover, like I said, the only thing I ask of people is that they're into it. You know what I mean? Enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because contractors are a dime a dozen, and that's not to be rude, but it's the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
If you want to work and you want to enjoy stuff and be part of a team, I'm always open.
I appreciate
even if it's only, even if it's only one book every year, you know what I mean? It's still, we consider people family when they join our team. So,
Thank you. All right. Well, Brian, Nicole, you guys stay blessed. I love you guys. It's been a pleasure meeting everybody today. Willow, you're awesome. Rebekah, you're super talented. Your husband, I saw him playing the guitar. My brother plays the guitar. Nothing like him, but fantastic.
He's
I loved
kind of
it.
ridiculous.
I can tell he was holding himself back. He wanted to go, oh, friend.
He's like,
So, Dustin, great meeting you. Good luck to you. I wish you every success possible times 10. And have a great Sunday, guys. Saturday, excuse me. I don't even know what day of the week it is. Take care, guys.
Have a great
Bye,
weekend.
Javier.
Will do. Bye-bye.
What a cool guy, right?
Yeah, Javier is great. He was one of the first people when we moved to Florida from Las Vegas that we met at a comic shop, and we just kind of hit it off.
Yeah, because we were at
Heroes Haven in Tampa.
Oh yeah, the place that we do not speak of.
Well, it doesn't exist anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Who cares? But we just don't speak of
the
it.
no speak.
It's like Valdemar.
But it's been a great show. I mean, we've been on for an hour and 45 minutes. I don't know if you guys want to go just for another 15 minutes or so. Or
Let's do it. I'm good. I'm good for 15.
I mean, I'm game.
Gothe.
I'm in. Yeah, Gothe. We were just talking about that with the fact that Tom just put out his Kickstarter that started today for Gothe. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about it.
So you want to kind of talk about Kickstarter, both of you as creatives. I know before the show we kind of talked a little bit about it, but I had asked a question about not just in the comic world or the music world, but video game, regular authors, just everybody's using Kickstarter. What are your thoughts on Kickstarter? And do you kind of feel like going forward that it's going to start becoming the new normal, especially if it's done right, where like for instance with Big Dog Inc. and Tom Hutchinson and stuff, like it's become like a huge family there. It's like everybody he does one and they just keep coming back.
I'm going to let Rebekah touch on it first because it's a different experience for her. You know what I mean? It's a very different.
It's totally different. With musicians, because there's such an overhead cost, I don't know about with you, but with us, we have so much cost in the front end to make an album that it's kind of ridiculous. That's why we built our own studio in our own house so that we can do half of it here, because literally at cost for a friend of mine who owns a recording studio who's freaking amazing here in Indy, it's still for us cost about $12,000 to make one album.
Or per album?
No, per album. Now, because in that cost, understand is you have the recording time. That recording time is not just, I'm going to go play my music and you're going to record what I have. Yeah, if you don't have a producer, if the person you're recording with is just recording you, absolutely. But a lot of times what's happening is you're sitting in the studio and you go, yeah, I'm going to play this, and you play it and they go, it can be better. And try this. And their ear, you're paying for their ear. And so you're paying for them and their ear and what they hear, and they're making you better. And as a musician, you need that, because in your head, you have one thing, and what comes out is a complete other. And so it's different live. Like we have live recordings, and they're completely different than studio recordings with all the bells and the whistles. So you have that time that's in that studio, and so one song can take 4 or 5 different sessions. Then after everything's been recorded, then it needs to be mastered, which means that person with that ear, you're paying for their ear, sits down and then totally messes with it and makes sure that it is perfect. Now with us, we're a little different. Like for a lot of people, they got like auto-tune corrections and all this other crap. I have a degree in opera. My ear is ridiculous. Samuel's ear is ridiculous. We don't go on a click track because, frankly, it's not gonna work for us. So it's a matter of really putting it out there. With the starter situation, it's like, okay, guys, we need money now because we need to be able to pay for this stuff so that we can give it to you. So, if you believe in our art, and our art is music, if you believe in our art, this is what we're doing. You've seen us live. You love us. You are our family. And that's the thing. I make everybody that we touch family. Everybody is family. You're a Celtic Rain family. The moment I meet you, you're now part of the Celtic Rain family. And that's my personality, bring you in, but then it helps in the long run because then you're invested. And there are artists that actually go through and they'll be like, oh, we're coming in town. Our band is coming in. We're going to come in and we need places to stay. And they're Kickstarter people that fund their music, then give them places to stay. It is because then we go in and we say, okay, you guys, part of the Kickstarter is you guys are part of our family forever. Therefore, we are going to be personal one-on-one with you. And it's like literally they get a front row seat to life with us. And that invests them into us and into our children, frankly, because we take our kids with us. We're not stupid, good Lord, let them see the world. And so they get to see our band, they get to see our kids, they get to have us in their homes, and they're giving money to make this album work. And they get a CD, and they get a t-shirt, and they get all the other little things as well. But then their name goes on things. We put them up all over the place. We are promoting them just as much as they're promoting us. And it really is a family situation. And the product is us in music. For sure. And that's the difference, is us. Right. And so they have to believe in us completely.
So you think, it's positive for a Kickstarter with you then?
It is. We use both GoFundMe and Kickstarter. GoFundMe works for us a lot as well. Frankly,
I've never used GoFundMe because it, like you said, it's different. It is
totally different.
Looking for a person versus product. You know what I mean?
But you have to understand that we are the product, so we are people.
For sure.
It's so much different. Yeah, it's so different with music because you're selling yourself.
Absolutely, and I think
totally selling yourself.
I think that's the misnomer with comic books, though, in writers and comic books and artists and comic books, because with us, we have to come out and we have to. It's not like working at Marvel or DC or Image. We have to sell you. Us. If you don't like me, you're not going to buy my book. You know what I mean? Regardless,
exactly.
You're not going to buy my book. And so when we come out, and it's literally like we're very personal and stuff, because we want you to understand who we are as people. In that we are the same, But then when you get into Kickstarter, Indiegogo was awful for me. Like Indiegogo, I didn't use GoFundMe because we're selling a product. It's less. It's just as personal, but it's very different at the same time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So. But with Kickstarter is done very well for us. I'm on my third one now.
Nice.
I've accomplished 3 of them. I'm 1 for 1 with all my Kickstarters. But at the same time, Kickstarter is a very powerful tool for us as writers and creators. You'll see a lot of people though that'll come out and they'll be like, "Yeah, there's my project right now. I'm excited about it." So
this is in Canadian funds, so don't be alarmed.
I was like, that's what's up. Put me up there. I like that. So, but it's like when we get to Kickstarter, we get to show a little bit more about the product. We get to show a little bit more about ourselves. We get to talk about, the artists that are involved, because with it's a lot like with it's a team. So if I can go in and I can teach you about the people on it, I can show you the people that are on the team, then you're literally going, well, I know that guy. I want to support that guy. Just like a musician, when you do a collaboration with a band, you're bringing these people in and they have their own dedicated fans, so you want to make sure that they know that their favorite artists are involved, because as a writer, it's like the best way to explain being a writer is you're like the drummer of the band. You make sure everybody shows up where they're supposed to be at. You make sure the roadies are doing what they need to do. You know what I mean? Everybody's doing their thing. You're never going to be the lead guitarist of the band as the writer, unless you're like Neil Gaiman or, somebody along those lines. But there's so much to see and hear with music as well as comic books. But with Kickstarter, we found that it's a portal for us to show our product off. It's a portal for us to do promotions, to show off our teammates, to lift our entire team, And I found that people are very receptive to Kickstarter because when you approach like what you just mentioned, you let them know who you are, bring them into who you are. Like the very bottom right there, the team art donation was spoken to with everyone. And that was the coolest thing in the world to me. Because my daughter wants to get into art. She wants to get into writing. She's into all kinds of new stuff. And schools don't provide everything that you need nowadays. So we're like, you know what? Take a little bit out of it every time, and we donate it to the school. Or we donate it to, with the listener, we donate it to wolf sanctuaries because that ties into, our heritage and stuff. So we try to give back a little bit in that way. But, thanks, Mike. I'm a huge fan of Kickstarter as long as it's used correctly. Just like any other tool, it can be used, incorrectly. Because I used Indiegogo as an example a little bit ago when we were talking before the show. Indiegogo, it's a platform that you can extend your goals, okay? And you can do immediate payouts with Indiegogo, Oh, you're good, Mike. I hope you're doing a cool raid because I haven't played in like 6 months. So anyway, as you're moving through with like Indiegogo, it's like, well, we can just keep extending. We didn't meet our goal, so we're going to extend it some more. And it's almost like detrimental to the industry because if you tell people you're going to give them a product and you hit this time period and you don't meet that product time period and you extend it, that's just more time that they have to wait to get their product. And as a writer and as a creator it puts myself on goals, like I mentioned earlier, everybody that works with us is paid before the project goes to Kickstarter. What we do with Kickstarter is we use the money to donate a little bit and to keep ourselves and our bills paid. You know what I mean? Like my wife works a full-time job. I'm very thankful for that. You know what I mean? She does well for herself. But at the same time, it's like being able to, contribute versus dumping in and dumping in and dumping in. These little things that are really, really cool to people, and they don't see the backside of the nuance of it. What is it? $150 for electric a month. You know what I mean? And the internet costs this and that costs this. All these things cost to keep these things together. Before all that stuff even comes out, like I said, you pay an entire team. You're paying your editor, you're paying your artist. If you look at right now, so all our pages and all our books are full color. Okay, our entire books are full color. Every one we put out. That's 24 pages. Okay, that's 2 dudes. That's a full-time job for 2 dudes because we're not doing it every other month. They do a book a month. You know what I mean? And you look at, let's say it's $150 a page, 150 times 24. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, we're $67,000 per book a month. You know what I mean? So when we go and we put the Kickstarter out there for $2,000 or $2,400 or whatever we put it out there, that's to make the bare minimum to exist, because we're paying these guys. I look at it like this. When you work with a Kickstarter group that's using it correctly, you are paying these people to not only give to you the product you want, but you're paying for their team. You're paying for, a roof over somebody's head or clothes on their kid's back. You know what I mean? These are all the reasons to use Kickstarter, the main reasons to use Kickstarter. because, people complain about jobs and not having jobs. All these folks out here are giving people work. You know what I mean? If it's used correctly, like I mentioned before, it can be used in a negative fashion. But if you do it the right way, everybody eats. And you'll hear me say that on a lot of shows. Everybody eats, and I think that's so integral, because if you look at other countries as well, we have artists. The majority of our team, 75% of our team's not from America. You know what I mean? So like Gwenny colors everything almost for me when it comes to covers or promos or anything. She's from Canada. She's a great person, but she's, she speaks French. So, we're like, okay, but $1 or whatever, we'll say $150. If I send Gwen $150 US, that's much more money for her over there. You know what I mean? So these things that people take for granted, these little things, like you put let's say you put a $20 or a $10 goal on there, right? You're a pledge, $10 pledge. Like my digital copies right now, if you go to the Greed Kickstarter, you can get all 3 of our digital books for $12 for all 3 of them. Okay. $12 though is like almost $17 Canadian. You know what I mean? So you're literally sending this to your artists, and you're like, that's what people don't understand. It's so much more money. Like they're like, well, we don't want to pay for indie books because they're more expensive. They're more expensive because we don't have the funds, just like artists or our musicians. We don't have the major labels that are out there paying for all our things to be done. So we have to pay for it all up front, and we're still trying to eat and exist at the same time, and it's like when you take a book and you're like, okay, well, my editor makes, we're going to throw a number out there. Say he makes $300. Okay. The editor makes $300. You have to top that on top of your, what you're paying your artists. And then you're putting your letterer on there. He's going to make $200, $300, whatever, and what have you. All these little nuances, just like Rebekah mentioned, what you're paying when you go to the studio, you're paying for all these little things. And all these things add up. So if you use Kickstarter the way it's supposed to be done, you can show people where the funds are going. You know what I mean? You can show them what it takes to create this, what it takes to create that. A neat fact is I don't use newspaper print. I use cardstock on all my books. So, and it's a little bit more expensive, but at the same time, it's also, it'll stand the test of time, and it'll get to you. It'll be safer when it comes to you because of the fact that cardstock lasts a lot better than paper, against almost anything. Like you could stand a cardstock book up, like it'll stand up. Just put it there on the table, and it'll stand up.
Yeah.
And
I think that's another good point, is that a lot of the people that invest into us as musicians, as artists, we're all artists, is that a lot of them, a good portion of them just love us and they want to give to it. Absolutely. The other portion, they're trying to learn.
For sure.
They're trying to learn what this really means, because when you got these big labels, they're throwing in everything under the sun, and they're getting these huge humongous recording studios that are giving them like bells and whistles, and the artist gets literally 0.01% of the profit, because they have to pay back all that to the actual label. And it's like, for just a second, it, as an independent artist or a small label artist, what ends up happening, or someone who's running their own understanding business of art, is the nuts and bolts, the little things, and you can then sit there for just a minute and say, okay, for you people out there who have it in your heart to do this, here is the nuts and bolts. Let's help you. Let's give you a little bit of an understanding so that you can then go and do your art. And then let's come back and talk to us, because it's not about competition. It's about working together and making our art just get out there.
For sure.
Yeah. Period.
It's hard to show people. If you're Kickstarter gives you the ability to show people the pieces and the small nuances of it. Like we try to put line work on our Kickstarter, so you guys can see a few pages, just the lines. Then we try to show you a little bit of the inks, you know what I mean? Then we'll show you some color on there with some pages. I like to show people things before we get that final product, because you can go to a comic shop and you can pick up the final product, or you can download a final product, a PDF. And to be able to show you the inner workings of what we do is phenomenal. You know, and it's a very in-depth take on what you guys want to see. And a lot of people will be like, well, we're not interested. You'd be surprised how many people want to watch the interior workings of a musician or the interior workings of an artist. You know, how many people get on Netflix to watch shows about these guys that are already dead? You know what I mean? They're dead.
Whose children are being raised by YouTube right now?
Right.
Because they're watching people and how they make things and how they do things, and thank God. Because, just saying, I homeschool. Yeah. YouTube is a huge part of our understanding. And it really is. It's like, how do you make this song? Okay, wait a second. How do you make not every song sound exactly the same, by the way?
Yeah.
You know, and that's how they really fall in love with you. Is you have to be vulnerable. You have to get in their face and be like, I'm a real person. I don't have anything on, and now this is how I become, and I'm a real person.
Yeah, I got a question here, because I see a lot of people do this with Kickstarter. Is the cool like extras? How far in advance do you have all that planned out?
Rebekah, do you guys do a lot of extras? Like
I do.
Swag,
well, extras with us are a lot of Facebook or lives or YouTube lives, that kind of stuff. That's extras for us. Like tonight, I will totally YouTube the whole concert and Facebook Live the whole concert, because that's an extra for us. People who can't be there kind of situation. For sure. Extras for me are getting ready with Rebekah's, that which I go from zero makeup and I just talk and put makeup on. Right. Zero to hero, exactly. Those are my extras. And then I make myself available to people who I know have put into our life. I make myself available to them.
That's super cool.
So that they can, but that's also my ministry heart. It's a little different than some musician. So I make myself available to them.
Well, you're breaking the fourth wall with that as well. You know what I'm saying? So I mentioned earlier, until recently, I have suffered terrible from imposter syndrome, like terrible from it. And it's like, when we go to create things like extras, you know, it's like, do people really want that? You know, yeah, you guys have got all kinds of crazy cool stuff coming out, Mike. I'm not messing with you guys. Trish makes the coolest stuff. So there's a lot to be said about what you do. Like, we do a lot of weird stuff for my extras. Like, so I mentioned breaking the fourth wall, and I think the last campaign for the listener, I did soap, was an add-on.
Oh, interesting.
And
nice.
It was for twofold, or threefold actually. So when I did soap, I wanted to do something that no one would forget. You know, if you got a Kickstarter and it had soap in it, like legit soap, not like a bar of Irish Springs or something, you know what I mean? You would know, right? You're going to remember it for the next time. What is Dustin going to do for the next Kickstarter? You know what I mean? He did soap last time. So soap was a fun way to, the listener, I feel like it would have a smell. You know what I mean? The world would have a smell, and it smelled like gunpowder and whiskey to me. And I wanted to give people that, you know? So I tested this soap out, and I couldn't believe it. I felt, it's going to sound really strange, but so I've been using liquid soap and body wash for so many years now, because it's easy, right? You get in there, you scrub out, and you're done. You know what I mean? It's great. You smell good, whatever. But there's a lot of science behind the fact that it's not great for your body. You know, so I was like, man, if I'm going to do something, like I said, I'm going to teach you a little bit, even though you don't want to be taught. Just quietly show you a few little tidbits of things in life, you know? So I got this brand of soap, and I talked to the guys that were producing it and stuff, and it was really, really good. It smelled really good. But I felt cleaner than I'd felt in, I can't tell you how long. Like, my body felt like it was just like, I mean, it was weird. Like, it felt like liquid soap, like left like almost like you don't realize it because you've used it for so long. I'm not, Belial's funny, but there's like a it's weird because you feel like you've got a almost like a coat of this liquid soap on you. Belial's great, and that's Chuck's product, his book series. But it's like, you just wanted something different. So smelling like whiskey was a really interesting smell to me, and the gunpowder smoke, because there's a lot of gunfire in our books, so it was like, if I could break that barrier just that much further to give people the experience.
A local artist.
My husband smells like scotch, just saying.
See, that's what I'm saying.
There's a local artist in my city that I'm obsessed with, and he does I'll maybe I shouldn't be promoting it on this show because it's very phallic. But his product is he came out with a soap of his phallic symbol, and and he was coming out with trying to come up with ideas of new smells for this, and I'm just like,
secure in your stuff.
Oh, that's a rabbit hole we never need to go down. Never.
And I'm like, no. I'm like, you should do like wood scents and call it morning wood.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Or we were just talking about teenagers who never took baths. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So
there you go.
Did, it was really interesting. And then for Greed, I was like, well, what can we do different? So we had this. My son did this awful thing to my daughter. He's 2 years old, so he didn't do it on purpose. But my mom bought my daughter this like space slime, like this gallon of space slime, right? So my son, and I'll shoot you guys photos later, but my son went into her room. He was supposed to be napping, and I'm downstairs working, and my daughter's doing school stuff. My wife's working. So he walks across the landing upstairs, goes to my daughter's room, finds space slime, okay? In a very pink and peach room, black and blue space slime everywhere, on art, on blankets, walls. And the worst thing about space slime is when you go to take it off, it bleaches every touches. So it doesn't matter. You can get on YouTube, you can watch the videos, whatever. You can make the paste to get it. Nicole knows. You can make the paste to get it off. It stains the carpet. You can't do nothing about it. It was on the ceiling, the carpet, the walls. My 2-year-old, I swear to God, he should be playing professional baseball the way he was throwing this slime around.
I'm just saying, 2-year-olds, they have a gift of destroying things.
They're vaulted ceilings, right? So he vaulted ceilings, 2 years old, with blue slime. Awful. So you get it all off, and you can't get the marks off though because it's bleached through it. So we went and we used 2 coats of primer, sanded it down, 2 coats of primer, still shows through it. You know what I mean? So I'm going to have to repaint the entire room, pull up the carpet and everything. So what I did with the listener, or with Greed, was I was like, man, slime goes hand in hand with our monster under the bed type of deal, But I was like, I'm not going to put anyone through this experience that I've been through. So I bought this slime that peels, like literally will peel off everything. You know what I mean? And I thought it was so much fun, and my wife was terrified because she was like, you didn't bring that back in the house. And I was like, I did. But I never want people to go through what I went through, and I thought it would be a funny story, So I was like, oh, we'll get green slime that literally you could pluck it onto your nicest painting in your house and pull it off, and it does absolutely nothing to it. So we thank my mother for her nasty shenanigans she committed in my house. But there's a lot to be said about cool things, like Mike mentioned the Belial air freshener. There's all kinds of fun stuff. But what people don't think about is all that costs, just like everything else. All of those things cost us money. So when you go, hey, look, I'd like to get an extra, can you add an art print? Okay, well, that's $300 to $500.
Look at what Tom Hutchinson does. He does these poker chips.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Well, Tom's a monster with that stuff, man. I mean, and so is...
Love it.
There's... Oh my gosh, there's all kinds of cool and pins and all kinds of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so
I'll be completely honest. The weirder, I'm sorry, but the weirder the thing, the weirder the thing you get, the more interested in it I am.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
I'm like, oh well, that's nobody else will have that.
Absolutely.
And I'm the entertainment director for like 3 different festivals. Because music, hello.
Right.
And we're like, okay, if you come and play with us, we'll give you this and money. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to give you yet, but I'm going to give you something. And you have, because you want to get the good people.
Stuff like that.
Excited for swag too. You get excited
Absolutely.
for that weird thing that nobody else will have.
Exactly.
What I miss is opening up like a game or something and having like that added bonus like sticker or something.
Yeah.
A sticker.
The thing about a sticker, right? And those are awesome. Tom is. So you have to look at, like I mentioned before. So I mentioned before, you're looking at $6,000 to $7,000 per book you produce. Okay. So then you're like, okay, Tom's Kickstarters are $30,000 to $40,000. You know what I mean? Generally speaking. So if I can pay an artist $300 to $500, to do me a sticker set, okay, relatively cheap to print stickers, okay, but the art is what you paid for. So now you're paying the artist for the stickers. Now, if I'm making $30,000 to $40,000, now you can look at this as a part of your question about Kickstarter is, how many people don't make it to their goals? You know what I mean? That's the people that you guys see that make it are a small percentage of the actual people that try. You know what I mean? This is a real dog-eat-dog world with this Kickstarter stuff. And when there's only so much money to go around, you know what I mean? So if you look at these cats and you're like, man, they didn't put out as much stuff as Big Dog Inc. or, and we'll use Jim because he's my buddy, or Totally Rad. You get all the art prints and you get this and you get that. They're making enough money to be like, hey, look, I'm going to throw bookmarks in there, metal bookmarks, or Murat Michaels with Naughty and Nice. You know what I mean? They're making enough money to make all those things make sense. And you've got people that are barely hitting their goals. There's not a lot extra for stuff like that. And it's not because they don't.
Who does the Harley Quinn knockoff?
So that's Hardly Thin. That's Murat Michaels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
and then doesn't he do like the Pooh Bear thing too?
He does Do You Pooh? He does Tig'em. You know what I mean? He does Dead
That's
Pooh.
so
He does all these really cool books. You know what I'm saying? And they're great. They're great books. But like I said, it all has to do with how much you're pulling in. Rebekah talked about it earlier. We have a finite number that we have to hit. Okay?
You have to hit, yeah.
You have to, or you're not paying the bills. So when people go, well, he didn't send me this, or I didn't get this or that. So soap cost me $10 a bar, okay, when I sent it out. $10 a bar, all right? I didn't make anything off soap. You know what I mean? I made nothing, but it was a cool thing to send out. So when you look at things like that and people are like, well, I got this from so-and-so. They sent me this cool stuff, and that's incentive. It really is incentive for you to purchase from them.
Yep.
But at the same time, when you're the new cat on the block, you don't have the extra to go, man. Because I would love to send you guys 11x17s all day. You know what I'm saying? I really would. But when you're talking 11x17s, I don't want to send it all screwed up. I don't want the mail to mess it up. So I'm going to send it in a top loader, which is going to cost me $5 per top loader. You know what I mean? Or $3.50 or whatever it is.
Well,
it's,
Right. With our last album we just put out. We put it out. I shouldn't say just. It's been 3 years now. That we put out 3 years ago. The people, when we did a GoFundMe. We didn't do Kickstarter. Sorry, I need to look into Kickstarter a lot more. But we did a GoFundMe, and we made $4,000 off of GoFundMe for us, and to make this album, which went towards making the album.
Right.
And they got the CD, but they also got, and nobody else got, a booklet that had all the words in it and the stories behind the songs and all of that, and that costs money.
Absolutely.
And they're all colored. They were about this big. I put them together myself, which means my blood was involved in the situation. And just saying, yes. I'm sure oh my gosh, my fingers were like hilariously callous by the end of the day, because we had thousands of those things to send out. But it was okay, because I knew I was building community.
That's absolutely
right. And the community is what is worth it. Now, understand, I will eventually get to the place, cross everything you have, that I have enough money to hire the people to put their blood into it instead of mine, and there you go. But we will always put the blood into it because community matters.
It does matter. All these
community
nuances.
That's why networking is so important. I put together a cosplay calendar a couple of years ago, and I tried doing like the whole GoFundMe thing, and it didn't go very well. And
sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
It's very hit and miss, and depends on how much you you network with people. Had I had the community that I'm a part of now, I'm sure that it would have got funded a lot better.
You have to build. That's the thing. I'm going to speak to every artist, every musician, every person who wants to do this. Build your community. You have to have a community. You want to start somewhere. The first thing you do is you start creating things so that you can show them and build your community. Know how to market. That is the biggest thing out there. Know how to market, know how to build a community, know how to make them absolutely fall in love with you. You know what that means? It means being real. Being absolutely real with people. Don't be fake. Be yourself completely, flaws and all. Be absolutely willing to be like, hey, dude, this is who I am. I love you. Use the word love on a regular basis and mean it. Because you have to build your community. And that's how you do it, because people are longing to be a part of a community. And if you can allow them, if you can give them a community to be a part of, they will latch on and they will never let you go. And they will be so committed to you that they will follow you forever, because you're being real, you're being yourself, and you're giving them love that they don't necessarily have in their life.
Absolutely. You're giving back. Like so I mentioned the imposter syndrome because it's very serious with a lot of artists and a lot of writers and creators, because once you make it, you don't really feel like you've made it. And that it's a very real thing. Like, Jim and I do our show Wednesday nights, and then he was like, hey, can you come talk to Tom, for one of his shows in Big Dog Inc. And I was like, oh, I was buying from Tom before I owned a comic shop. You know what I mean? When I owned a comic shop, I was ordering books from the guy to put in my shop. So it was like, when you're like, hey, can you come and bullshit with the dude that you've been, a fan of for this long? You're like, oh man, I don't know. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll do it if you go with me, because I don't want to be by myself doing it. You know what I mean? Because I'll say something dumb. But that's human. It's all very human. So like when you go to talk to fans, it's very it's intriguing. It's incredibly phenomenal. I'll use Trish for example, because she was on here earlier. She almost had me in tears this morning. She almost had me in tears, and she was like, a lot of people that live on reservations are need the stories. You know what I mean? They need the uplifting moments that we have to give. You know what I'm saying? I didn't live on a reservation because my family was military. You know what I mean? My entire family, with the exception of my father, has been military. So I don't know that lifestyle. You know what I mean? And then it's like, when you start getting in with the Irish and stuff, it's a very different type of world. So I didn't live like that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I never took from it. So I didn't take the time as a youth that I should have taken to learn, what it was to be part of this culture. So when my uncle was like, he's going through PTSD and withdrawals every time we turn around and talking to us about the stuff he's been through, it was like, man, I felt awful, like almost ashamed that I didn't know my own history like I should have known it. So when he passed, and everybody was like, well, you got to tell the tales. It was like, okay, somebody's got to tell them. Someone's got to hear them. You know what I mean? We can't let them go away. So Trish, she was talking to me about how, she had been around the reservation forever, and everything that she'd been dealt with as a person. And she was like, man, I would like to put your book out to people so it could be, required reading on reservations and stuff. And I was like, you know what? Let me know who needs it. I'll send it to you on my cost. You know what I'm saying? Because we do need those stories. A lot of things about the listener are deities and theology, like I mentioned earlier. And we gauge power on beings in our books by belief. There are a lot of beings that aren't believed in anymore, but they shouldn't be forgotten by the people that believed in them originally. You may not believe them anymore. You could go, hey, I'm Catholic, I don't believe in, Odin, but at the same time, you don't have to not know that existed. You know what I'm saying? It's part of your culture and your heritage.
I have a lot. So my grandmother is the daughter of a Cherokee, full-blooded Cherokee.
For sure.
And she didn't tell us until I was 35, by the way, that because she was adopted. And so
wait, you were 35? I thought you were only like 21.
I'm 40. I'm 45 years old. So I have a little bit of beauty in age. Thank you. And yeah, no, it was ridiculous. And we had to say, Grandma, she's like, you don't talk about these things. Grandma, you do talk about these things.
That's right.
You need to let us know. I had to go and look and figure it out. Because she was like, well, and she gave me some great tips and we figured it out. But at the same time, it was like, okay, for just a minute, let me know what my actual heritage is then.
Yeah,
because
sure.
Technically that's a huge part of my history that I don't even know about. And I have so many Wiccan friends and Druid friends, and we're Celtic. Yeah. I'm just saying, you get them. And all these other things, and I would consider myself technically a Druid Christian. It's just who it is.
It exists now, but people have
that you have to take in consideration that all these things. I love. Have you guys seen American Gods?
So good.
Just so good. Yeah. Because go watch it because it was just so freaking good. Because it's just do they believe in me? No, read it. Good job. Read it. I watched it. I'm sorry. But it's just so amazing because it's like, okay, for just a second, don't let go of the history and the understanding, because it may be the power of the core of what you were built to be.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
For sure. Yep. Well, you look at things we desperately want people to understand things. We desperately want to be accepted in culture, so as a writer, when, we come out, or even a musician, it's the same difference. When you're writing lyrics and stuff, you definitely want to be accepted. You want the reciprocation of what you're sending to people. So we talk about things that are very tongue-in-cheek with the listener. It's a very, not everybody wants to hear that people were treated like shit. You know what I mean? Not everybody wants to talk about it. Is history. It's like the church. Original back in the day, your birth certificates were kept in churches. They weren't kept at City Hall or anything. They were kept in churches. So the church where everything from my ancestors was at, the Tebow's, was burnt down. So it was literally you're trying to trace everything through genetics. And let me tell you what it's like to try to get an 80-year-old woman to get a DNA test. You know what I mean? Not great.
And that doesn't always hold up, by the way.
Absolutely. For sure. So then you're like, okay, so now you've got to look for things that have been burned. You've got to go back to towns where you were originally from. And that's why I talk about the fact that I don't believe in tribal differences anymore. I believe that it's one group of people, and we need to understand that, because we've segregated people so much that it's it's all mud now. It's all mud in the water. So we have to understand it and to learn from it. So when you go, yeah, well, I saw Windtalkers. I know all about Native Americans in war, but you don't know shit. I'm here to tell you, you don't know how these people were treated. You don't know how things went down. The fact that Les was thrown in to sleep with dogs and, wasn't even allowed to sleep in a barracks because dudes didn't want to be around him. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear it. Because it's And I tell you right now, it like I said, it's very tongue in cheek because it gets very serious for me because we talk about things like, so when people go, that's my spirit animal, I want to spit. Like, I want to spit. You know what I mean? Because it's literally like, you have no idea what you're saying. Most of the time it's in ignorance, and that's okay because people are ignorant.
Sometimes. Not always.
Most of the time.
So we shouldn't probably judge.
I would hope.
We probably shouldn't judge.
For sure, but when you go, it's my spirit, that taco is my spirit animal, it's very insulting. You know what I mean? Or you go like if you were born post 1980, okay, or prior to 1980, and then you saw cartoons as a kid where they would promote Native Americans, and they'd call people chief. Super disrespectful, and we touch on those things because it's ignorance. You didn't know that was disrespectful. We hope you didn't know it was disrespectful. You know what I mean? Or when you're like, how? I got news for you. That's not a thing. So walking up and how is not a thing. So I try to educate people and things like that. Hey, we don't use that terminology. People shouldn't talk like that. You know what I mean? And then the listener, I try to give that to people. I make jokes about things like that, so you understand. Hey, it might make people uncomfortable. You know what I mean? It's like not a cool thing to do. It kind of. If you were to say that right now to a human being, like if you went to a Halloween party dressed as a Native American dude and walked up to me and was like, "How?" I mean, I don't get butt hurt very often. You know what I mean? But it would probably be like, "Hey, bro, really not feeling it." You know what I mean? It's really not, it's just not cool. And I think that as a culture, like I mentioned, we're not inclusive. We're much larger than that. The world is a big amount of people. And if we can bring each other together and show each other the different things, the different nuances to religion, faiths, anything like that. That's why I talk about in the listener, I don't just talk about Christian faith. I don't just talk about Native American faiths or beliefs or religions. I bring everybody into it. Because we're all one big unit, and I think it's fun. I think it's cool to teach people about deities they never heard about. You don't have to believe in them, but it's cool to learn about them. They existed in these people's minds, their thoughts, their belief systems, and I think it's powerful. And I'll continue
to have those conversations with people because they don't understand.
For sure. Absolutely.
Like, for some of us who are Indigenous and Native, we don't have the same ties to our heritage because it wasn't talked about, or because we don't have any records of it because they were burned and they were, or they left because of whatever kind of ridiculous persecution that happened. I think that we don't take enough time to listen, to talk, to be listened to. Absolutely. And to listen to understand. And we wait for, whatever our next turn is. And we don't think about how important that is. And having those conversations is important. Like I told one of my kids said something about being Black. And I said, well, I will never understand, but it is always good for you to be able to tell your story. Absolutely. I said, but you also need to be willing to listen to people whose stories are very similar. And he says, oh, well, so who is that? And I said, well, there's a little thing called the Trail of Tears. Oh, and so he went, well, that's not. And I said, hold up. When a third of an entire nationality or an ethnicity dies because someone moved them across a place, don't tell me that it doesn't matter.
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe on a grand scheme of thing, it was bigger. Exactly. As far as slavery was concerned, but you have to also understand that if you weren't white, it wasn't just Africans that were sold.
That's right.
It wasn't just, and that's not even where it started, really. And I'm like, so there's a bigger idea of what you need to know.
I mean, we can talk about how the Italians and the Irish were treated.
We could talk about the Japanese as well. We can talk about little pockets of people that have been treated. I mean, like the people in Burma right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which I just learned about. I didn't know anything about.
But we could go on and on about all this, but Rebekah does have to go. She has to get ready for a show tonight.
I have a gig tonight Love you. If you're in Indy area, come see me 7 p.m. at Primeval Brewing in Noblesville. I'm so sorry, guys. I gotta
No, it's okay.
No.
Can you throw up
Go
those links?
enjoy.
Can you throw up those links again?
Yeah.
So if you want to come, if you want to figure me out, reverbnation.com/Celtic Rain out of the sky is where you can find our music like ridiculous. Okay. If you want to see the Celtic Rain radio show, YouTube, baby, www.youtube.com/C/Celtic Rain. Tuesday nights at 7 p. Sorry, what is wrong with me? 9 p.m. To 11 p.m. I do the actual show.
You're Central Time, right?
Eastern.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they moved us like years ago. Everybody you've never seen as many farmers be so pissed in your life as when they moved us to Eastern, but there you go. It was hilarious. But because I moved from the South to here and I'm like, Eastern is what is wrong with you? Of course Eastern. So whatever. It didn't bother me at all. Eastern.
We have to bring you back, Rebekah.
Yeah.
You have to come back on. We'll talk some geeky, nerdy stuff. I mean, I know you love movies and all that stuff. So yeah.
Love it. I love Doctor Who. I am a huge geek at heart, like ridiculous geek. Like ridiculous. I'm not a video gaming geek, but I do every other kind of gaming known to man. I actually have been and I will say this. Instead of being like I was the dungeon mistress, not master, because I'm a woman. Come on. I was dungeon mistress at Gen Con for 2 years, which Gen Con is coming back this year. Yay!
Nice.
So I will be again the dungeon mistress for 4th edition, because why not be a superhero instead of 5th edition where they're like, let's make it real. Fuck you. I don't want to be real. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I should.
I'm glad it
Don't
was
be
you and
real.
not me.
Don't be real. Just, have a great time and be a superpower.
For sure.
I like 4th edition. Sorry.
Right on.
All those people who are like literally cursing me under their breath. But still, I play it all. But still, I am a 4th edition girl. Yay, D&D.
Okay, one of these days, I'll have to have you on my show so that you can teach me how to play D&D.
Absolutely. Let's have so much fun.
I'll gather some people and you guys will all teach me how.
Oh my God, we will have so much fun. Number one, make your characters beforehand. It takes like 12 years to make a character, but still. But yeah, have fun. I'm gonna go have amazing time singing and having a great time. And bye.
Have fun. Take care.
Bye. Sorry.
Oh man, this has been a fun show. And
This
Dustin,
was like
thank you so
the
much.
show that you said we'll just go for 15 more minutes. And we were like,
I'm sorry, guys. I get excited.
when was that? Like half an hour ago? 45 minutes ago?
Well, when you have guests like this to have.
Well, they have cool stories to tell, and there's a lot of them, so you have to give them time to talk about everything really awesome. But yeah, and so I'm looking down because this ring light is so freaking bright.
I'm sorry
that I can't look at this screen.
Let me see if I can.
I swear to God, it's blinding me.
Is that better?
That's better. Yes.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Oh my God. I'm sitting there going, I couldn't wear my glasses anymore because I'm like, is that right?
So I do have a quick question for Dustin, since he is a writer and Nicole is, she hasn't.
He keeps telling me that I have to write this down, but I wish I'd spent, 16 years making drafts of stuff, because now I'm like, damn, there's 16 years of material I don't have.
It's out there. You can still do it. But she has so many years of being in the classroom and hearing all these funny stories, like from kids, like some of the things that they say and stuff. And so she has an idea to put a book together, telling these stories. And I told her, if it's in Barnes and Nobles and someone's like, just from the title alone, people are going to buy the book. As a writer though, what kind of encouragement or tips would you give to her?
For a new writer, I'll say this. I think the coolest part about being a new writer is showing off original content. Okay. And I think that what I would do is what I did with my first book is I put a draft together, and I sent it to people that didn't know me. They didn't know me from Adam. So it was literally like, check this out. If you enjoy it, you know what I mean? Let me know what you think about it. If you wouldn't mind giving me some feedback, because there's a lot of groups out there. You have to be really careful as a writer, and it's a terrible thing, and it's awful shameful to have to even say that. But there are plenty of people that either want you to pay for their opinion, which whatever, that's neither here nor there. That's not the worst thing in the world. But then there are people that will borrow your concepts. You know what I mean? So you have to be real careful. Find some people that are legitimate in the industry, that are well enough known within a group. You know, you could find a group in your local area. There's probably a writers guild in your library or something like that. That I would reach out to my library and find some people that are like-minded individuals. Let them read it, see what they think. But be open to creative criticism. You know what I mean? Be open to it, because it can come in many ways. You know, they may not like this, or they may not like that, or they may be like, hey, look, can you change this character just a little bit so you're not using a stereotype or anything like that. You know, they'll come at you, and most of the time they're real honest, and most of the time it's really helpful. That, and understand like what kind of platform you want to use. Do you want to do like a novel? You know what I mean? Do you want to do like something that's a bunch of short stories together? Do you want to do a comic book? There are so many comic like web series right now, you know what I mean, on things that are really fun. There's, oh my gosh, you know, there's one about a dad and his daughter that is super cute right now. I wish I could think of the name of it, but it's all about this single dad and his daughter and what he's going through, you know, and the things that she puts him through as a single dad, you know, and she's young, she's little. And it's just funny because people can relate to those things. Like I have my 2-year-old son, I can totally relate to the things that he writes about. So yeah, I mean, figure out, do you want to do a comic book? Do you want to do a short story book, like a novel, you know, however, you know, what have you, but have people read it, have them check it out first, because you don't want to get in over your head. And that's not to try to get you not to do it. That's just being honest, because there are times when we and I've done it, you know, we put ourselves out there, we have this great idea, and then we get so invested that you can't see the forest for the trees. You know what I mean? So get some cool people to read it, check it out. I mean, I'm happy to do it as well. You know, send it to me. We'll talk about it. You know, I'll help however I can. But it's fun. You know, make it what it is. Make it fun, because you don't want to hurt yourself with it. You know, it's like they're just funny stories. It should be great. It should be a good time. It should be uplifting to you as you write it. It should be uplifting, because if it feels like a hard job, not saying it shouldn't be hard work. If it feels like a hard job that is more, you hate it when you're doing it, then don't do it. It takes away from your ability to write something that brings you pleasure. You know, Garrett said it earlier, write for you. And that's the greatest form of advice I could give you, is write for you. You know, what makes you feel good? What's uplifting to you as a person? Because it's very powerful. When you put those words down, it's almost a gospel. You know what I mean? Because they're your heart on that paper. You know, and it's very daunting sometimes. It can be very scary, you know, to put your feelings and your thoughts into these things. Trust me, I've rewrote numerous things numerous times because I was scared to death. Can I really write this? Can I upset the masses with what I have to say? How are people going to feel when we put out the book where we talk about how Les had to get on the back of the bus or sit in the very back, or how he had to deal with this, and this? How are people going to feel? But then I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because it's your heart on that paper. They'll accept you or they won't. That's the best thing. I wish someone had told me that, so I hadn't been afraid to put down words on paper for so long. You know what I mean? Go with your heart. You can't go wrong in that direction. It may not be for everybody, but there are people it's out there for. Just have them read it.
Probably the best way better.
Wow, I think they cut out.
Oh.
It's okay.
Bros.
Better advice than just write. It's Florida.
Yeah.
We're back.
You're back. And you
I think we're back.
The kids are like,
There we go.
it's
Yeah.
hot outside.
Telling you guys to just write is a disservice to you, though. It's a disservice to you as a person. And when you ask us legitimately how we can help or be honest with you, if I tell you just to do it, it is a disservice and it's hurting you more than it's helping you. You know, so have a plan. You know, put it down on paper. Like I said, I can help. You know, I think they cut out again.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm taking up way too much of their time today. But it has
This is when we start to have this problem. So
Yeah.
Are we back?
yeah.
it's
Okay.
like I said, it's been a pleasure working with you guys today. It's been a pleasure, you know, hanging out with everybody. Thank you for having me.
Anytime.
But if I can help you guys at all on that project, let me know. I'm happy to do it. You know, and I'll sling it to some people that'll give you honest opinions. So
I feel like sometimes I got a lot of irons in the fire, and I'm trying to figure out how everything can.
Yeah. Well, he will be
meld.
here in Florida this weekend coming up at the Suncoast Comic Con in Sarasota.
Oh.
So I said maybe on Sunday we can just go take a drive and actually meet him in person.
that's where I'll be. I will be there.
I really that is the coolest little thing.
Yeah. So that is my character Cade from Greed and Jim Noble's character Violet from his Totally Rad stuff.
It's a cute picture. I absolutely love this.
Right. It's fun, right? It's a little homage. So it was a good time. You guys are welcome to come hang out with us on Wednesday nights. We do the other side. And it's a lot of fun. It is in the evening. So it's very adult. Well, we're very honest. Not insulting, but we're very honest.
Someone is willing to come up to the Manitoba U.S. border, and I can hop the gate.
Just hop over the border and jump in the trunk. We can do that. No, we don't have a trunk, but
it's going to be a lot of fun, though. Like I said, you guys are welcome to come hang out with us on Wednesday nights. We go live. You guys can talk about your stuff. You know, it's a good time. We also do the show on Friday nights with the Australian guys. They're super great. So if you guys ever want to come hang out with us on there, you're welcome to do that too. And that goes for all three of you. It doesn't matter. We'll have a good time. But I am very proud of the fact that you guys do what you do. I think it's awesome. You know, I'm very thankful to get to come hang out. You brought on some amazing talent today. And I love the fact that you want to write. I think it's very powerful, you know, and you guys need to do it if you want to do it, because that's the only way we get anywhere, you know, taking that first step forward.
Well, I want to thank you for wanting to come on and hop on. And the next time that we bring you back, we got to talk some more movies and stuff. I want to pick your brain on that. So
that was fun. We just need to do a geek show with past guests.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun. Yeah. Well, we do movies and comic books Wednesday nights. So you guys are welcome to come hang out, trivia with us, you know, whatever we'll have you. And we'll promote your stuff on there too. But yeah, the one you just saw was it's funny because everybody's like XYZ. Yes, XYZ is a thing. So it is the listener.xyz. All our books are for sale on there. Greed will be on there shortly, you know, within the next week. I'll end up uploading that to the website because the campaign ends tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that. We are literally one backer away from the best campaign we've ever had. So I'm so excited about that. It says a lot about the book. It says a lot about the team that's on it. And I'm mad excited about it. But other than that, guys, like I said, I've got 3 IPs.
What about social media links for you? Where can we?
Social media links. You guys can, like I said, the big one is the website, the Shopify site. You can hit me on Facebook. I will talk to anybody on Facebook. You can ask Brian. Brian will attest to it. He hit me up out of nowhere. I will talk to anybody on Facebook because until you prove me wrong, everybody's equal. So feel free to reach out. We'll talk. We'll shoot the shit, whatever you guys want to do. And I'll come on shows. I'll hang out on shows. It really doesn't matter because we're all, you know, like I said, everybody's equal in my book. unless you're somebody that I idolize, then I'm kind of like, meh.
I've had way too many moments like that.
Right. You know, I
tell the Dean Cain story a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and that happens, you know, like actors don't bother me because I went to school at Universal and I got to hang out around a lot of cool people and stuff as when I was younger. But comic book guys, man, like, and gals that are in this industry that have been killing it for a while, they make me nervous as all get out. Like, I'm like, am I on the same listing as that guy over there? I don't know. Maybe I should be on the other page. I don't know if I'm supposed to be on that one with him. You know what I mean? It's very cool though. And but I think we as people, we do that. But yeah, you can find me all over social media. I'm more than happy to talk to you guys about comic books, writing, artwork, anything you guys want to talk about. Or if you want to hit me up for a game of Mortal Kombat 11, I'm always down for that too. But you know, it is what it is.
Do you have are you on PlayStation or Xbox?
I'm on PlayStation, and I don't know what my handle is. So
okay.
I'm not that into it. You know what I mean? I know that my bills all come from my same address, and that's about all I know about that stuff anymore. Because it's been so many years. I'm old, man. I'm like, I turned 36 this year. It's been a while. So there's a lot to be seen and a lot to be gained from helping each other. So if you guys need me for anything, I'm at your disposal. I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me. And I am going to wrangle my children because I know my wife's probably pulling her hair out. So yeah.
Well, we'll keep you on just for after the show, and we'll say our goodbyes. But I want to run a couple videos here. So HWWS has a new actual scripted show coming very soon. So I'm going to run a promo here.
Welcome, Glasscock Park, to this glorious day.
Today is your lucky day. We got some great stuff. This is Glasscock Park. Marvelous.
Thank you.
Come on, let's go. I don't have all day, people.
Now, it's time.
Tell your friends, huh?
I can't wait for that. That looks so hilarious.
It was so much fun.
That looks good.
I'm
in. And then, of course, we have this promo here, which I have yet to do a video, but we will do ours. And it's our subscribe campaign.
I'm GW Pomager.
I'm Dina Marie.
I'm Sage Ia.
I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
Hey, I'm David Thompson.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mia.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey there, this is Dave Adams.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rose.
Jerome Conner here.
Hey guys, it's Josh Bauer.
It's Willow Schuyler.
I'm Cosplay Michael.
I'm Bravo.
It's your boy Country.
I'm Ryan Permison.
And I'd like to ask you guys, please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please
subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe to HWWS
Web TV.
Great bunch of people.
And don't forget to smash the bell.
Ring that bell.
Smash that bell.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell to be notified.
Hit the bell to get notified of new shows
and videos.
You're going to want to do that, so do that soon.
So we can cross that 20,000 mark.
And get us to 100,000 subscribers.
To 1 million, and 10 million, and 100 million.
On HWWS.
Web TV.
You really like it. I guarantee it.
Thank you.
As you can see, we're a bunch of... I don't even know what I was going to say there. We're a great big family.
We're a bunch of characters, that's for sure.
Oh, you guys all look happy, and I think that's awesome. You know what I mean? The video it incites people to want to be around happy people. You want to surround yourself with stuff like that. So, right on.
Yeah. Well, until next week when we are doing our comic roundtable, it's time to ring that bell.